Senna was a weak boy who could only run fast because bullies chased him every single day until a devil named Hiruma caught him and forced him to play American football. Hiruma threw a tinted Eyeshield helmet onto Senna's face and gave him a secret identity called Eyeshield 21 that nobody could know about. Now, whenever Senna wears that helmet and steps onto the football field, he transforms into the fastest runner in Japan. However, before all this, Senna finally gets accepted into Daemon High School, and when he arrives there, he runs into Mamoru again after not seeing her for a really long time. At the beginning, Senna feels shocked that he actually passed the entrance test and got in, but Mamoru tells him that they will both be attending the same high school together. Later that day, two strange-looking students trick Senna into thinking they are helping him call his parents, but they are really just trying to get his phone number. Right then, Mamoru shows up and scares the two away, warning Senna that one of those boys is named Hiruma and that he's so scary and evil it's like he could eat people's bones. The next morning, Senna gets dressed for school and feels happy when he gets a new phone call from his parents, who congratulate him for passing the high school exam. On his first day at school, Senna stands in front of the class and introduces himself, hoping to make a good impression. At first, he thinks everyone looks nice and friendly, but then he notices a group of three weird and ugly-looking guys sitting together. After class ends, those same three guys come up to him. One of them says their names are Kazuki, Koji, and Shozo. Before Senna knows it, they grab him and drag him toward the football club room, planning to beat him up. Just then, Ryokan Kurita shows up and, without meaning to, scares them away because he thinks they came to join the football club. Senna stands there surprised but also relieved that Kurita saved him without even realizing it. A curious Senna asks if he can become the team manager of the football club, and while doing so, he starts to get along well with Kurita and becomes his friend. On his way home, Senna once again runs into the Haha brothers, who this time try to take his phone so they can track down Kurita and attack him. Senna quickly panics but manages to escape from them, showing off his amazing speed and quick movements without even realizing it. Nearby, Yoichi Hiruma, known as Daemon High's scary overlord, witnesses Senna's incredible running ability and becomes very interested in him. The next day, Hiruma suddenly kidnaps Senna and forces him to join the football team, giving him the secret identity of Eyeshield 21 to hide who he really is. Later, Senna tells Mamoru that he is going to join Hiruma's club, but she says that she already warned him about Hiruma. Moreover, he is joining to play football, which is also way too dangerous, but Senna says that he is not a player but a manager. However, Hiruma makes Senna train like a football player on the ground. Hiruma brings a bunch of training equipment to the field, including a ladder that he says will help Senna practice his footwork through ladder drills. After setting everything up, Hiruma tells Senna that they'll start by testing his speed with a 40-yard dash. While explaining, Hiruma mentions that the fastest high school player in the country is Seijiro Shin, who can run the same distance in just 4.4 seconds. When they begin, Kurita runs first but ends up being too slow since he's the heaviest on the team. Next, Hiruma takes his turn and finishes with a time of 5.1 seconds, which shocks Senna because he didn't expect Hiruma to be that fast. Finally, it's Senna's turn, and when he runs with all his effort, everyone is amazed to see that his time is exactly 5 seconds, proving just how quick he really is. After that, Senna decides to give the dash another try, and this time his real speed shows up an incredible 4.2 seconds. Later on, Hiruma tells Senna and Kurita that they need to find 9 more players to complete the football team. The next day at school, Senna feels nervous and a bit down since he just started attending and doesn't really know anyone yet. Still, he tries to talk to a few students and ask if they want to join, but things don't go as planned. Because Hiruma has such a scary reputation and strong influence over everyone in the school, most students stay far away from anything related to him, which makes it impossible for Senna and Kurita to convince anyone. In the end, both Senna and Kurita feel disappointed since they couldn't find any new members for the team. However, not long after, Senna manages to convince Tetsuo Ishimaru from the track and field team to join them, which makes him really happy. Meanwhile, Hiruma somehow takes care of getting the rest of the members needed on his own in his usual mysterious way. Later that day, Senna decides to help Ishimaru with his newspaper delivery job so that they can spend more time together and start training sooner. The next day, everyone gathers for their first tournament except for Kurita, who is carrying some heavy boxes as his penalty for not finding any members for their group. Senna then reads the list of the tournament match and wonders if their first-round opponents are good, but Kurita and Hiruma say that they are not good, so they are going to win against them easily. Afterward, Senna, teen, gets jealous because Koigahama, their years each member, has their own girlfriend to look after them. One of the members named Hatsujo makes fun of Team Daemon for not having a single girl by their side to cheer up for them. Later, Senna finds a male model coming to watch their match, which makes all the girls starts going after him. Kurita tells Senna that it's Sakuraba from Yari Productions and he is here on his high school's football team, the Ojo White Knights. However, Hiruma says that Sakuraba is their real enemy and his friend, the fastest runner who is way too strong. Later, Hiruma plans that they can also put Senna in the match, but then they think that there is no reason to reveal their secret weapon if they don't have to, but they say if they are down by 1 point, he is going in. Afterward, the match between Daemon and Koigahama begins. At the start, Kurita plays really well while Senna tries to understand the rules of this game. Moreover, the second quarter comes to an end and neither team scores a run. Meanwhile, Shin and Sakuraba record the game from the sidelines, keeping a close eye on everything that happens. As the match continues, Demon's team misses an easy chance to score because Ishimaru messes up the play. Right after that, the ball goes to Hatsujo, who quickly takes control and scores a goal for his team without any trouble. Later on, Senna is sent in to replace Ishimaru, but he wears a tinted eye shield so no one can recognize him and find out who he really is. When the game starts again, everyone begins chasing after the ball, including Senna, who struggles a bit to control his incredible speed. Then, in a flash, he dashes straight past all 11 opponents with ease and manages to score a goal, leading Demon's team to their very first victory. After that, Mamoru rushes back to the tournament grounds, worried that Senna might be in some kind of trouble. When she gets there, she quickly asks Ishimaru if he knows where Senna is, but Ishimaru explains that Senna messed up his manager's duties, so Hiruma dragged him back to the shed. Hearing that, Mamoru panics and runs straight to the shed, where she finds Senna lying on the ground, completely exhausted and looking miserable. Just then, Hiruma shows up, and Mamoru angrily tells him that even the school's disciplinary committee has already given up on trying to control him, but what he did today is something truly unforgivable. Mamoru tells Senna that she's going to make him quit the football club for his own good, then grabs his arm and takes him away, assuring him that he doesn't need to worry about anything because she'll always be there for him. However, Senna admits that he actually wants to keep playing football for a while longer, surprising her with his determination. Later, the team rides together on the train, and Hiruma suddenly reveals that their next opponent is none other than the Ojo White Knights, the strongest and most feared football team in all of Japan. Meanwhile, back at Ojo, the White Knights coach angrily yells at Sakuraba and Shin for failing to record the entire previous match until the very end. The coach even tells Shin that because of this mistake, he won't be starting in the upcoming game against the Daemon Devil Bats. On the other side, Hiruma gathers his team and tells everyone that their job is simple, they just need to block the opponents, clear a path, and then let Eyeshield 21 handle the rest. Later, Kurita happily brings a bunch of sweets to celebrate their victory, while Senna and Mamoru stay behind to clean up the clubhouse together. After a while, Hiruma shows up and announces that it's time to start planning for their next game against the White Knights. As he begins explaining their strategy, Senna gets nervous, realizing that he might have to play again. However, Mamoru says that the player wearing the Eyeshield 21 helmet was actually really good out on the field, which makes Senna even more embarrassed and worried. Later, Hiruma makes Senna train, but Senna realizes that even Mamoru is even stronger than him. Afterward, Mamoru leaves so that Hiruma makes Senna run for 40-yard dash. The next day, Daemon and Ojo White Knights get on the field for their match and Senna wonders why there are so many girls here to watch. However, when they shin speed, Senna gets surprised and wonders how they are going to compete against them. Not only girls show up to watch Sakuraba's match but also Shinryuji Naga's, the other half of Kanto's top powerhouses. Meanwhile, Hiruma tells his team that they are going to have a tough competition today and the team gets scared because Shin is also playing. Seeing them, Senna asks Kurita if something happened last year, so he says that 2 of their borrowed players ended up with broken bones because of Shin. Hiruma then tells his team that they don't have to worry because Eyeshield 21 will carry the ball and he will tackle all of Shin's attacks. Hearing that, Senna decides to run away, so Mamoru quickly informs Hiruma, but then Hiruma uses his wild dog to track down Senna, who is wearing his Eyeshield 21 kit. Afterward, the match begins with Hiruma having the ball but someone jumps straight at him. The ball then goes to Eyeshield, who runs as fast as he can towards the goal, but 2 players jump at him, so he quickly changes direction. However, a massive guy hits the ball from Senna's hand and the ball goes straight flying. In the end, Kurita manages to steal the ball, but Hiruma gets mad at Senna because Ojo had almost caught the ball before it hit the ground. Afterward, Senna gets the ball again while Shin thinks that Senna has moves that someone can't learn overnight. Later on, Kurita talks to Senna and tells him that the White Knights have the strongest defense in the whole country, but he promises that the team will protect him, so there's no need for him to worry. After that, the match continues, and Senna takes off running with the ball while his teammates block the opposing players to clear a path for him. It looks like Senna's fear has completely disappeared, and with full confidence, he charges forward and scores a touchdown. Everyone on the team starts cheering loudly, thrilled that they finally have a lead against the White Knights. Watching from the other side, Shin becomes impressed and thinks that Senna must have gone through years of tough, special training to gain such explosive speed and power. When the game starts again, Senna grabs the ball and runs forward once more, but this time a huge opponent starts chasing after him, ruining his plan and stopping him in his tracks. Since Daemon has 6 points lead against Ojo White Knights, they decide to send Sakuraba to the field. Seeing him, the crowd goes insane, which embarrasses Sakuraba. However, Senna wonders why it looks like the White Knights all have different players now, so Kurita says that in football, the players are different for offense and defense. Despite that, Ojo's huge player Odawara continues to play on both offense and defense, and he's the only one strong and heavy enough to stand his ground against Kurita. Meanwhile, the reporters watching the game talk among themselves, pointing out that the player in the middle who gets the ball first is Takami Ichiro. They explain that Takami is a solid quarterback who sticks to the basics and rarely makes mistakes. Soon after, the game starts again, with Daemon setting up a tight goal line defense. Seeing their formation, Takami quickly figures out that Daemon plans to stop their running plays and is counting on Kurita to reach him for a sack before he can throw the ball. As the play begins, Kurita charges forward to break through the line, but before he can reach him, Takami throws a clean pass to Sakuraba, who catches it perfectly and gains 10 yards for the team. However, Mamoru wonders why Team Daemon is letting him make all those passes. Earlier, Hiruma told the team that they are going to pretend to give up on defending the pass and let the other team throw as many as they want. After that, the ball is passed to Sakuraba again, but Senna dashes in from behind at full speed, trying to steal it away. Senna reaches the ball first, but it slips out of his hands before he can secure it. Luckily, Hiruma catches it midair and starts running forward. A moment later, Hiruma tosses the ball back to Senna, who grabs it and sprints ahead, skillfully weaving past every opponent in his way. Just when it looks like he's about to break through completely, Odawara appears right in front of him, ready to block. However, when Odawara looks closely, he realizes there's no ball in Senna's hands, as Hiruma had already snatched it back during the play. Thanks to that trick, Daemon manages to gain 5 yards. Finally, the Ojo White Knights decide it's time to send in their strongest and most feared player, their ace, Shin. Afterward, the match begins with Senna and Shin going against each other. Senna manages to tackle Shin, but Senna just jumps at him to stop Senna on the ground. The match then continues and Shin manages to get another takedown and the score is now a tie. Afterward, Team Ojo White Knights get a free kick and Sakuraba manages to easily score another point. Hiruma thinks that the game just got a lot tougher, as their chances of winning depended entirely on if Senna can Shin or not. Hiruma then passes the ball to Senna, who then passes the ball back to Hiruma, but Shin stops him. As the match continues, Takami doesn't throw another pass that Eyeshield can cut off, and just like that, Ojo White Knights are already at 14-point score because of Shin, while Daemon is still at 6. The score soon gets to 20 points and it just keeps increasing while Team Daemon struggles badly against them. Afterward, the ball gets to Senna, who runs like a beast, but Shin quickly grabs him and he falls on the ground. It's now halftime and the score is 35 for Ojo while Daemon is still at 6. Later on, Senna tries adjusting his shoulder pads, realizing that if he hadn't been wearing them, he could have easily broken his bones during the game. Meanwhile, Ojo's team captain angrily scolds his teammates, telling them to play much better, especially shouting at Sakuraba for not even being able to protect himself properly. On the other hand, Senna talks to his teammates and tells them that Eyeshield 21 won't be playing anymore. Hearing this, the other players start to think that Eyeshield must be upset with them for performing so poorly. Listening to their words, Senna clenches his fists and decides that he can't just give up now. With a determined look, he puts his Eyeshield helmet back on and steps onto the field once again, ready to keep fighting for his team. After that, the match goes on and Senna gets the ball, sprinting straight ahead toward the end zone, but Shin immediately starts chasing him at full speed. Shin tries to grab him, and though Senna leaps to avoid the tackle, Shin still manages to bring him down. Afterward, Hiruma tells Senna that if he can't dodge sideways, he should try spinning instead. Taking that advice, Senna runs again, and when Shin appears in front of him this time, he quickly spins around to slip past him. However, Shin reacts fast and stretches out his arm, tackling Senna once more before he can go too far. The Ojo White Knights manage to make another takedown, but soon after, Daemon gets the ball back and goes on offense again. At that moment, Hiruma announces that he's leaving the match, but Senna quickly stops him and says that he's going to do something to turn things around, asking everyone to keep going. Hearing his words, Hiruma decides to stay in the game after all. The Daemon Devil Bats already know they're going to lose the game, but Eyeshield 21 refuses to give up and is still determined to get past Shin no matter what. While running with the ball, Eyeshield suddenly bumps into Ojo White Knight Sakuraba, who accidentally steps onto the field to pick up his last promotional sticker that his idol manager, Miracle Ito, had dropped. Because of that, the famous idol gets hurt, and all of his fans start blaming Eyeshield 21 for the accident. Even with all the chaos around him, Eyeshield keeps going and finally manages to dash past Shin at incredible speed, scoring Demon's final touchdown of the game. Watching him, Shin realizes that Eyeshield 21 has reached a speed where all the power in the world wouldn't be able to touch him. Final results show that the Ojo White Knights defeat the Daemon Devil Bats with a score of 68-12. After the game, Senna starts thinking about going back to his normal everyday life, away from all the pressure and hard training. However, as he reflects on everything that happened, he realizes how much he truly loves playing American football and how much it means to him. Seeing this spark in him, Hiruma steps in and convinces Senna to keep going, telling him that they need to start training for something even bigger than the upcoming autumn tournament, which will decide which teams get to compete in the famous Christmas Bowl. The next day, Senna heads to school with a football but a baseball lands at his feet, so the player tells Senna to give the ball back, but Senna throws the football instead. However, the ball slips from his hand and almost gets crushed from a truck, but the boy quickly jumps and retrieves it. Afterward, Senna goes to the clubhouse where Hiruma shows him a poster with a picture of Eyeshield 21, saying they need more real members who practice with them daily. Kurita says that they need a receiver to catch passes, but then, Senna quickly thinks about the boy he saw earlier. Later on, everyone starts putting up posters all around the school to recruit new members, and Senna wonders if that will really be enough to attract people. After thinking for a while, he decides to go talk to the boy he met earlier and ask him to join the football team. Senna heads to the baseball field, where the boy is in the middle of a game but clearly struggling. The crowd watches as he fails to hit or run properly, but they all notice that he's surprisingly good at catching. That evening, after the match, Senna approaches him and says that he wants him to join the football team. However, the boy turns him down, saying it would feel lame to give up on baseball now. He then explains that his dream is to become the best catcher in the world like his idol, and ever since he was little, he's been practicing his catching skills as if his whole life depended on it. The next day, the boy tells Senna that he saw the match yesterday where Eyeshield 21 was playing impressively. After that, it's revealed that the boy's name is Kaminari Montaro, who has now been placed on the third string of the baseball team, basically the reserves of the reserves, because he can't throw or hit properly. Hearing this, Montaro becomes really upset and starts to believe that his dream of becoming the best catcher might be coming to an end. The next day, Senna talks to his teammates and says that a catcher doesn't need to be tall to be good. He then rushes off to find Montaro and asks him to join their team instead. Later that night, Montaro watches an interview with his favorite idol, who gives a passionate and inspiring speech that lifts his spirits. The following day, Montaro proudly announces to everyone that he's joining the football team and promises that he'll become a true catching hero. Meanwhile, Sakuraba is heading towards the hospital because of his injury that happened in the previous match. The president and another guy inform him that he can't play yet, and after the accident, Eyeshield managed to score a touchdown. On the other hand, Senna and Montaro watches a past broadcast of Demon's match with Ojo. Montaro gets excited after watching Eyeshield 21, but Senna wonders if Sakuraba is okay. Just then, Hiruma enters the room and tells both of them to start practicing. Afterward, they all start exercising together, but Mamoru tells Senna not to go on real game exercises that can be pretty dangerous. Afterward, Hiruma tells Senna to go bring Eyeshield 21 from the clubhouse, and then Senna quickly runs towards it. Senna then changes his clothes back to Eyeshield 21's and wonders if it's going to be bad if Montaro finds out that he is Eyeshield. However, Montaro suddenly shows up and jumps right onto Senna, knocking him down, and in that moment, he finds out the big secret that Senna is actually Eyeshield 21. Kurita quickly tells Montaro that he has to keep this information to himself and not tell anyone about Senna's true identity. After that, they all head back together to continue their training like usual. While practicing, Senna remembers that he still needs to check on Sakuraba at the hospital, but Montaro reminds him that if he goes as himself, people might recognize him and his secret could get exposed. Later on, Senna and Montaro come up with a plan to visit Sakuraba anyway, with Senna pretending to be Demon's team manager instead of Eyeshield. When they reach the hospital, they find the front gate packed with a crowd of excited girls all trying their best to get inside to see Sakuraba. Somehow, Senna and Montaro manage to sneak past the fans and make it inside, only to discover that a news channel is already there filming Sakuraba's live interview. Even so, they still rush inside, but a wild boy in a wheelchair suddenly starts throwing things at the news reporters, causing them to scream and run away in panic. After things calm down a bit, Senna steps forward, introduces himself as Demon's team manager, and politely apologizes on behalf of Eyeshield 21 for the trouble. After that, the boy in the wheelchair excitedly asks Sakuraba for his autograph, saying that Sakuraba is his idol. However, Sakuraba looks down and says that people have just overestimated him, which makes Montaro upset and frustrated. Sakuraba then tells them to let Eyeshield 21 know that there's no need to apologize, adding sadly that he won't be able to play football anymore. Hearing that, the boy named Torikichi, who is Sakuraba's biggest fan, encourages him not to give up and to keep training hard so that he can become a true American football player one day. The next day, Senna and Montaro go out to buy some stuff at the supermarket when Senna picks up a newspaper and reads a headline that says Ojo's era has already come to an end. Hearing that, Montaro asks Senna if he thinks their team is the kind that starts strong but falls apart after just 3 games. Senna says they're not like that at all, explaining that Ojo still has Shin, the legendary player who would never give up so easily. Just then, Montaro accidentally bumps into a scary-looking guy sitting right in the middle of the road. Noticing his uniform, Montaro realizes that the man is from Zokugaku and quickly tells Senna that they should leave. Before they can walk away, the man suddenly reaches out his arm, snatches the newspaper from Senna, and laughs, saying that if Shin is struggling against a team like Sankaku, then it looks like the so-called legend is already finished. Afterward, Senna and Montaro manage to get back to the clubhouse where Hiruma informs them that he has just arranged a practice match against the Zokugaku Chameleons, a team notorious for dirty play and led by linebacker Rue, who has extremely long arms. They realize that Rue is even better than Shin, but Hiruma says that Eyeshield 21 could beat him at running anytime. Afterward, they all begin their painful training, which leads to Mamoru coming to save Senna. Later on, Hiruma announces through the school speakers that there will be a football game this Saturday at Daemon, and even the famous Eyeshield 21 will be playing in it. After the announcement, he puts up a huge poster promoting the match, showing a cool picture of Eyeshield 21 next to an embarrassing and ugly photo of Rue to mock the opponents. Later that day, Senna and Montaro head out to buy some backup gear for their upcoming game, but suddenly, a motorcyclist zooms by and snatches their money right out of their hands. Luckily, Shin appears at the right moment and helps them chase down the thief, eventually getting their money back. Afterward, Shin tells them that he and the Ojo White Knights will be waiting for the Daemon Devil Bats in the finals, leaving Senna and Montaro both amazed and motivated to work even harder. The next day, Kazuki and his group try to scare Senna and Montaro, saying he heard that Ryu is going to send someone out on stretcher today. Later, Kazuki and his group go to Demon's clubhouse to search for something. Just as they start finding something, Kurita arrives and instead of beating them, he thinks that they are here to join his club. Afterward, Kazuki and his group are also forced to join the football team, and today is the match between Daemon and Zokugaku. As everyone walks out onto the field, the members of Zokugaku begin mocking Senna for wearing what they call a stupid helmet. One of them even throws an empty can at him, but Montaro quickly catches it before it hits. Senna already feels nervous and scared, but his fear grows when he overhears Hiruma telling Kurita that they should recruit more players since he's not sure how many of their current ones will survive getting crushed in this game. Montaro then looks at Senna and tells him that today's match isn't just another game, it's his chance to prove that he hasn't wasted his life chasing his dream. Hearing those words, Senna takes a deep breath and decides that he's going to stop the other team no matter what and help them win. Meanwhile, Rue talks to his teammate Ashizuka, saying that the secret of beating Daemon is simple as once they stop Eyeshield 21, the rest of the team is nothing but trash. Afterward, the match kicks off with Rue's creepy curve ball shot that makes the ball go past everyone. However, Montaro manages to steal the ball from him and then he almost passes it to Senna, but the ball falls. Afterward, the game keeps going with Hiruma launching a long pass toward Montaro, who leaps high like a monkey to catch it in midair. Even though Montaro gets tackled right after catching the ball, they still manage to gain a solid 35 yards from that amazing play. In the stands, Montaro's baseball coach and his old teammates cheer loudly, feeling proud and impressed by how well he's doing. The match stays intense as both teams keep scoring back and forth, refusing to give up. Then, Ryu's team switches their formation to focus on blocking Montaro, thinking he's the biggest threat. However, when the next play starts, the ball is passed to Senna. He sprints down the field with great speed, but the moment he spots Rue charging straight at him, Senna freezes in fear and ends up getting tackled to the ground without even trying to dodge. Afterward, the next round begins and Hiruma throws another long pass toward Montaro, but the opposing team immediately charges at him, ready to tackle. Montaro glances around and notices that Senna is too far away, which makes everyone realize that Senna is so terrified his legs have turned to jelly. The match keeps going, and Montaro once again gets tackled hard since he can't pass the ball to anyone with Senna so far behind. From a distance, Senna watches Montaro struggling to stand after being tackled over and over, yet Montaro still puts on a brave smile and shouts words of encouragement to Senna, even though he's clearly exhausted and barely able to stay on his feet. Meanwhile, Kurita tells Hiruma that they should change their strategy, but Hiruma is firm that they won't change anything. Afterward, everyone thinks that at this rate, Montaro is going to get smashed. The ball once again goes to Montaro, but he keeps getting slammed by the opposing team, all because Senna is too scared to confront them directly. However, after a moment of realization, Senna understands that there's no reason to fear Rue since he has already faced someone much stronger, Shin. When the game resumes, the same play order follows, but this time Senna bursts forward with incredible speed and takes the ball from Montaro. Seeing this, Rue begins using dirty tricks to gain an advantage, but Hiruma quickly threatens Kazuki and his group that if they refuse to play properly, he'll expose their embarrassing photos to everyone. Afterward, the match continues and Senna dashes across the field, skillfully dodging every defender that tries to stop him, and he manages to score points for his team with ease, leaving everyone in shock. For the first time ever, the Daemon team keeps adding more and more points, playing with a strong lead that they've never experienced before. Afterward, Senna charges straight ahead with full determination, even though Rue is blocking his path. He doesn't stop for a second, reminding himself that someone like Rue is nothing compared to Shin. As he keeps running, Senna realizes that Rue doesn't have much speed, so he uses that chance to dash right past him. With incredible effort, he finally scores the points for his team. In the end, Daemon defeats the Chameleons with a final score of 46-28. Because of the bet made before the game, the entire Zokugaku gang ends up becoming Hiruma's new slaves, which makes him laugh with wicked satisfaction. After Daemon wins their game, all the students start thinking that playing football is something that is really fun, so every single one of them makes the decision that they want to become part of Team Daemon. When the tryouts begin, the group of team members sets up individual interviews where they talk to each person who wants to join. During the first candidate's interview, they ask him about whether he wants to play on the offensive side or the defensive side, but then Senna decides to ask him a completely different question about what his favorite food is instead. The first candidate who is being interviewed then starts to explain his really sad story to them. He tells them that he has been forced to go to cram schools for extra studying, and because of that, he has never been given permission to join any clubs or activities at all, so now he really wants to join the football team so that he can finally create memories of his time in high school. When Hiruma hears that, he becomes extremely angry at the candidate. The interviews keep going, but most of the people who show up are strange and tell weird stories instead of being serious about playing football. After all the interviews are done, Hiruma decides that they should hold tryouts instead. The next day, he gathers all the candidates together and even rents out the entire Tokyo Tower for the challenge. He explains the rules, saying that the goal is to reach the top viewing platform of the tower while carrying as much ice as possible. Senna and Montaro also join the tryouts and immediately start running up the tower, while the rest of the participants struggle to even walk up the stairs. While Senna and Montaro make it halfway through, they suddenly find a wild dog named Cerberus waiting for them on the stairs. The dog quickly charges toward them and ends up eating Montaro's ice bag. Montaro then notices that Senna's ice bag is also melting, so he throws it at him, but it slips from Senna's hands and falls to the ground, making the dog chase after them again. As they keep running, they come across another obstacle room filled with fire blocking their path. Meanwhile, the Haha brothers are getting ready to join the upcoming match, while Yukimitsu struggles to carry his ice packet but stays determined to prove himself. In the end, everyone else fails except Yukimitsu, who refuses to give up. Seeing his effort, Senna arrives to help him, and with his support, Yukimitsu finally reaches the top floor and earns a spot on the team. Later that night, Mamoru finishes setting up the team's new communication network, but none of them have any idea how to directly contact Eyeshield 21. Curious, Mamoru decides to ask Hiruma about it, and he tells her that he will personally handle all contact with Eyeshield 21 himself. However, Mamoru becomes suspicious, feeling like they are clearly hiding something from her. The next day, Yukimitsu chooses not to tell his parents that he has joined the football team, knowing they would definitely scold him if they found out. Afterward, he gets to the practice ground where Kurita and Daikichi are already training. Later, others also arrive at the field and Hiruma tells Senna to bring Eyeshield here. Hiruma realizes that Eyeshield 21 has really good acceleration and can speed up fast but has bad stamina and gets tired easily, so he asks every single student at Daemon to hunt down and find Eyeshield 21. He threatens to them that if they don't do it, he will spread scandalous and embarrassing information about each one of them to everyone. He also makes a promise to his Okugaku slaves that he will set them free and release them if they are able to find out who Eyeshield really is. Mamoru, who also wants to find out the true identity of Eyeshield and learn who he really is, starts following him around everywhere he goes, and while she is doing this, she gets abducted and kidnapped by Habashira and his gang so that they can use her as bait to lure Eyeshield out. Senna finally reveals his true identity, but Hiruma quickly comes up with a clever trick by making every single Devil Bat member wear a number 21 uniform and an Eyeshield. This confuses Habashira completely, making him think that Senna is just a fake. Since Habashira fails to figure out who the real Eyeshield 21 is, Hiruma extends their servitude for another 3 months, leaving the Zokugaku gang frustrated and defeated once again. Afterward, Kurita has been accused by shop owners of ruining their decorations for a festival that was happening. Knowing that the Devil Bats will be disqualified for the Christmas ball if one of the members has to face disciplinary action from the school, Kurita withdraws from the team to protect them. Other Devil Bats members look for the real culprits to make them confess so that Kurita does not have to leave the team permanently. With the help of the 2 American girls who were being bullied by the culprits the night of the disaster happened, Kurita's name is cleared and he is proven innocent. Later on, a broadcast shows that the Statue of Liberty is holding a flag that tells the public about the current recruitment happening for the Devil Bats team. When the team sees this on TV, they understand and realize that Hiruma asked the girls to fly back to Japan from New York in order to act as witnesses for Kurita and help clear his name from the accusations. Afterward, everyone decides that they are going to hold a barbecue party, so they all set it up beside a river. However, it is still part of the training Hiruma wants to give the new teammates, as Hiruma shows them a football strategy that shows how to pass the ball and run around. He then tells them that he is going to take a quiz about it and the routes are related to their barbecue today. Hiruma explains that only people who go where the route tell them to get to eat the meat. However, Mamoru asks why Senna has to do this because he is the team manager, but Senna says that he wants to enjoy some meat as well. Afterward, the quiz begins and starts, and everyone runs as fast as they possibly could to try to win, but then Hiruma throws a piece of meat from up in the sky which goes flying in Montaro's direction and heads straight toward him, but the dog catches it and eats it instead of Montaro getting it. The quiz continues going on, and none of them get to eat any meat at all except for the dog, who keeps getting all of it. Just then, 2 weird-looking guys arrive and show up at the scene, and Hiruma makes them enjoy themselves and eat some meat as well, just like the dog did. Soon after all of this keeps happening, everyone gets really fed up and tired of doing this quiz over and over again, but Hiruma tells them that he will show them and explain to them why this quiz is really important and matters so much. In order to make his teammates understand and realize how really important it is to memorize all the passing routines and remember them well, Hiruma takes all of them to watch the game that is happening between the Ojo White Knights and the Cebu Wild Gunman teams. Kid and the Iron Horse are both players who belong to the Gunman team, and because the Iron Horse knows all of Kid's routines really well and has memorized every single one of them, the Gunman team is in the lead and winning the game. However, Ojo still ends up winning the game in the end, and this happens because the Iron Horse has to sit out and stay on the bench for half of the entire game. The next day, Hiruma proudly shows everyone their brand new clubhouse, which turns out to be a whole new building just for the team. When they walk inside, they're amazed to see their own locker rooms and a bunch of other cool facilities. Everyone looks thrilled, except for Montaro, who gets annoyed because his name is spelled wrong on his locker. Afterward, the team celebrates the grand opening with sweets and snacks, filling the place with laughter. Once they finish eating, Hiruma pulls out a newspaper and shows it to Senna, as it says that an American high school football team is coming to Japan and they're looking for a Japanese high school team to challenge. Hearing that, Kurita says that it is one of America's premier and top football schools and they must be one of the very best teams around. Just then, Hiruma receives a message on his phone, so he passes the phone over to Kurita, who reads it and says that it is from American Football Monthly magazine, and that Hiruma actually applied for this application to compete, but then he finds out that the editor has already decided and made the choice that it will be the Teo Sphinx team who will compete and play against another team. Hiruma tells everyone on the team that the next day, they are all heading over to the American Football Monthly's office to go there. The following day, Hiruma and Kurita visit the office, where Hiruma shows the editor in charge a message proving that it was actually Daemon who won, not Teo Sphinx. The editor checks and realizes that the mistake was caused by someone else in the office, leaving him embarrassed while Hiruma smirks confidently. Back at school, the Haha brothers have already decided and made up their minds that they are quitting the team and leaving for good, even though Hiruma is still blackmailing them and threatening them with their pictures that he has. While they are in a restaurant eating, they hear some members of the Teo Sphinx team talking about how useless and worthless they are as defensive linemen who play on the defense. The brothers get beaten up really badly by a Sphinx member who attacks them, and because they want to get revenge for what happened, they decide to return to the team and come back so they can help the Devil Bats defeat the Sphinx team. The next day, everyone heads over and travels to Teo High School in this blazing hot weather that is burning them up. Kurita wonders and thinks about whether they can actually compete with them using their current level of strength that they have right now. Just then, they arrive at the Teo High School building, which looks like a massive and huge pyramid structure. Moreover, this game will determine and decide who has the right to go against and play the American team, but the Sphinx team is known as the heaviest line in all of Japan. Just then, the Haha brothers arrive and show up at the location, and the American monthly editor-in-chief also arrives at the same time, and his partner is really excited because Eyeshield 21 is going to go against the heaviest line in Japan. Afterward, both teams get ready and prepare themselves on the ground to play, and everyone watching thinks that there is a 100% chance that the Sphinx team will win this game, going by the way Daemon has been playing their games up till now. Meanwhile, Kurita and the others are extremely scared because Team Sphinx's players look scary. The match begins with Kurita struggling against other teams' heavy players. Meanwhile, the thrower from Sphinx throws the ball, which gets to another guy who runs to get the touchdown. However, Senna quickly runs as fast as he can and he easily catches up to that player and even tackles him down on the ground. Afterward, Senna wonders if Kurita is not acting like the usual Kurita at all. The second round begins and starts up, and Kurita and the other players are easily taken down and knocked over by the Sphinx's heavy players who are much bigger than them. Afterward, Hiruma says some encouraging and supportive words to Kurita, who is feeling really down and sad about what just happened. Afterward, the match continues going on, and Kurita goes straight towards the other team's guy and runs right at him, and he and the other players manage to push them back and move them backward. However, the Sphinx team still manages to get a touchdown and score points for their side. The special strategy that was practiced by the Haha brothers is finally revealed and shown to everyone watching that it is a move called a scumbag scramble that was taught to them by Zokugaku's Habashira and his gang members. After that, Team Sphinx charges straight at Daemon, but Kurita and the others quickly rush forward to break through their pyramid formation. At the same time, the Sphinx's thrower waits for one of his receivers to get open for a pass, but he notices that all his teammates are struggling to move ahead. Feeling pressured, he randomly throws the ball toward one of his players, but Senna jumps in and interrupts the pass, letting Daikichi grab the ball instead. Right away, all the Sphinx players tackle Daikichi together, but before they can stop him completely, he throws the ball high into the air, making it bounce around wildly like a circus act. Then, Senna manages to catch the ball and sprints forward at full speed, but a huge player from Team Sphinx grabs him tightly and stops him from scoring a touchdown. After that, the game keeps going, and this time a huge, strong player from Team Sphinx tackles Kurita hard before charging straight toward Hiruma, who is holding the ball. Watching this, the American editor comments that the Sphinx's pyramid line looks completely perfect and hard to beat. The match goes on, and when Senna gets the ball, he dashes past everyone at high speed like always, but the ball is actually still with Hiruma, who moves so fast that he dodges every defender coming his way. Right after that, Hiruma quickly passes the ball to Montaro, but before he can do anything, another Sphinx player rushes in and steals the ball away from him in an instant. Afterward, the match continues, and this time Hireo gets sacked by Hiruma, which makes the Sphinx furious. Hiruma tells Haha brothers to participate properly as well, and Daemon easily gains 12 yards. After that, Daemon keeps scoring more points easily, with another touchdown by Senna too. Hireo gets angry and yells at his team for playing like cheap players, but one of them talks back and tells him to think about his own mistakes first. Seeing that, Hiruma tells his team that from now on, they will rush in and try to block Hireo's passes. On the other side, Team Sphinx decides to send in their special player, Kamaguruma, who is still a freshman. The game keeps going, and this time Daemon starts to have a hard time because of Kamaguruma, but they don't give up and keep trying their best. Kamaguruma uses his strong chariot bump move on Montaro to stop him from catching the passes that Hiruma throws at him. Afterward, Team Sphinx gets a bonus kick, and Team Daemon thinks that since they can't kick, they will still lose even if they get in the same number of touchdowns. However, Hiruma tells the team to attack no matter what because that's all they can do. Mamoru quickly tells the team that there are only 12 minutes left, so they need at least 2 touchdowns to win. Afterward, the match continues, but Montaro again gets a chariot bump from Kamiguruma, which makes the team worried as their attacks are not working. Montaro starts to think that he can't keep up with the other team's strong power, and when the game continues, he gets knocked down again by Kamiguruma's chariot bump move. Watching this, Senna realizes that Montaro has already reached his limit, but Hiruma still tells him to keep doing exactly what he said. After that, Hiruma grabs the ball, and when the other players rush to tackle him, he quickly passes it to Montaro. Kamiguruma charges in again to use his special move, but before he can hit, Montaro throws the ball to Senna instead. Senna then dashes forward and manages to gain 11 yards, shocking everyone watching. However, there's only 1 minute left in the game, and Team Daemon still needs to score 2 more touchdowns to catch up. On the other hand, Hiruma encourages Montaro that he can do it despite getting crushed by Kamiguruma every time, and that for Daemon to win, they need his catching abilities. Afterward, the match continues and Team Daemon manages to hold up pretty wall against other players' wall. Hiruma quickly throws the ball to Montaro, but Kamiguruma rushes in and pushes him hard. Even so, Montaro still manages to hold onto the ball and scores a touchdown. After that, Hiruma gathers the team and tells them that there's only a 2-point gap left, so they need to charge straight through the center, meaning they'll go right at the Sphinx's pyramid line. The game continues, and this time it's up to Senna to carry the ball and run straight ahead without turning back. As soon as he gets the ball, Senna sprints toward the goal while the players from the other team keep trying to tackle him, but he dodges each one with quick moves. In the end, Senna reaches the goal and scores a touchdown, and the match finishes with both teams tied in a draw. The next day, Team Daemon is practicing on the field when a mysterious person secretly watches them from the side, trying to figure out who Eyeshield 21 really is. Suddenly, Montaro and Daikichi spot her hiding, and as soon as she realizes she's been seen, she quickly tries to run away. Montaro then shouts to everyone that there's a spy watching them. However, before the spy can escape, she ends up running straight into Kurita and crashes right into his big stomach, since he accidentally blocks her path without even realizing it. Montaro gets angry at her and demands to know why she was spying on them, but before she can answer, Hiruma shows up and scares her into explaining what she's doing there. After a moment, the girl finally introduces herself as Taki Suzuna, a 16-year-old skilled inline skater and part-time reporter. She admits that she's been looking for the true identity of Eyeshield 21. Suzuna says she's curious why a high school student would hide his identity while playing for an after-school football team. The next day, Suzuna shows up again and joins the team as a cheerleader, pretending to support them, but her real goal is still to discover who Eyeshield 21 really is. Afterward, Montaro tells her that he got a message from Eyeshield 21, but she challenges him to race her, saying if he wins, she will leave without getting any information on him. Later that night, Senna finally arrives in his Eyeshield 21 helmet and accepts Suzuna's challenge, which is going to be starting from a shrine all the way to the bottom of the hill. Afterward, their race begins and Senna realizes that she is actually fast, so he starts running as fast as he can, but he finds her in front of him. However, she loses her balance and falls straight down the hill, but Senna suddenly notices that she's hanging onto the edge of a cliff, so he quickly decides to save her. Senna rushes over and manages to pull her up just in time, but right after that, she passes out and becomes unconscious. A little later, Suzuna wakes up while sitting on a bench and tells Senna and Montaro that she's decided to give up on finding out who Eyeshield 21 really is. She then reveals that the real reason she took that job to uncover Eyeshield 21's identity was actually part of her search for her missing brother. The next day, the American team accepts the game against the Daemon Devil Bats and Team Daemon watches them on TV. Senna sees an American player named Panther whose speed is even faster than Flash. On the other hand, Panther learns about Senna's amazing speed by watching the recordings of his past games. Excited to compete against him, both of them start training hard, determined to win for their own teams. Later, Hiruma gathers everyone and explains that their main strategy will focus on the blitz, a strong and aggressive defensive style. He also tells the team that from today onward, everyone will practice tackling. Hearing this, it fires up Senna even more, since he wants to face Panther in the upcoming match. Meanwhile, the American team boards a plane to Japan, but it turns out Panther had to buy his own ticket because his coach still dislikes him and refused to cover the cost. Later on, everyone gathers to watch the American team, and Senna spots Panther among them. Panther's coach orders him to polish the footballs and prepare the equipment while the rest of the team goes to eat. Feeling bad for him, some of Panther's teammates decide to bring him food, but when the coach finds out, he gets angry and takes Panther's headband. the one his grandma gave him, and starts wiping his shoes with it. After that, the coach shouts at the team to go find his missing cat. Panther then asks if the coach will let him play in the game if he finds the cat, and the coach agrees. Panther immediately starts searching for the cat, and Senna joins in to help him. While they're running together, Panther looks at him and asks if he's Senna, and when Senna smiles in response, Panther instantly knows it's him. While the American team practices for their upcoming game, Senna and Panther are busy trying to catch a cat so that Panther can take part in the match. However, they search everywhere and still can't find it, so Senna asks Panther why the coach dislikes him so much. Panther explains that during one game, he wanted to impress his grandma, so he ignored the coach's orders, and ever since that day, the coach hasn't let him play in any match. After hearing this, Senna takes Panther to a delivery truck company where the cat was last seen. When they get there, they finally spot the cat, and soon both the American and Daemon teams join in on the wild chase to catch it. In the end, they all work together and finally manage to capture the cat successfully. Finally, it's time for the match between Daemon and American team to begin, and right at the start, Hiruma starts annoying the American team's coach. Hiruma tells the coach that if they lose, they will be deported from Japan, but if Americans can't beat them by 10 points, they can never go back to America. Afterward, both teams get ready and Hiruma tells Senna that he will lead the charge, and then the American player throws the ball, so Senna quickly charges at them. On the other hand, Kurita and the others try to make room for Senna, but they fail to do that. However, the thrower throws the ball like a rocket with a long pass, so Montaro quickly runs to stop the other team from getting a touchdown. Despite that, the other team manages to get a touchdown easily, and Demon's blitz strategy kind of fails at the start. Senna thinks that they need to defend their long pass, but Hiruma tells them to double the blitz. After that, the game keeps going, and this time everyone charges straight at the thrower, with Kazuki and his two teammates also joining in on the blitz. Meanwhile, Senna rushes toward the thrower and tries to block the shuttle pass, but the thrower still manages to launch the ball like a rocket, sending it straight to another player who catches it and scores another touchdown. The match continues with Senna now holding the ball, but the opposing team's players keep shoving him away every time he tries to move forward. Even after failing again and again, Senna doesn't give up and asks Hiruma to let him try the blitz one more time. This time, Senna plans to stop the shuttle pass by aiming for the thrower's weak spot and grounding him completely. After that, Senna grabs the thrower's arm just in time, stopping him from making a proper throw, and the ball slips out of his hand. Senna quickly catches it and starts running, but soon he gets surrounded by players from the other team. Even so, he changes his running speed and direction again and again, slipping past everyone with his quick moves. In the end, Senna reaches the goal and scores a touchdown. The game goes on, and this time 4 players rush at the thrower together, forming a 4-man blitz. After that, Kazuki tells Senna that they'll block the other team's players so he can break through. As soon as the play starts, Senna runs straight ahead toward the goal while the Haha brothers charge forward and smash through the wall of defenders standing in their way. Afterward, Montaro asks Senna if he is waiting for Panther to play, and he also explains that if they are in lead by tens of points, the other team will have to let Panther play. However, Senna says that he wants to compete with Panther, and the match continues with Hiruma passing the ball to Montaro, who passes it back to Senna. Senna then quickly runs to get the touchdown, but the tackle down instead. The match continues with Senna struggling to get a touchdown every time he runs for it, but then Senna manages to get a touchdown in the end. Seeing that, everyone thinks that no one can compete against Senna's speed, but then Panther gets his coach to let him play, as he can stop Senna. However, the coach still doesn't let him play and tells some other strategy to the team. The match continues as the thrower launches the ball toward player number 9, who catches it and scores a touchdown using the shuttle pass. After that, the American team sends Gonzalez and his younger brother onto the field. When the play starts again, Senna sprints toward the goal for another touchdown, but the big Gonzalez blocks his path and knocks away the players running alongside Senna. Even so, Senna dodges him skillfully and keeps running, but the younger Gonzalez catches up and tackles him before he can reach the goal. Meanwhile, the coach tells Panther that having one talented player alone isn't enough to win a game, as it takes teamwork to achieve victory. On the other side, Hiruma gets knocked down easily by the opposing team but refuses to give up and charges at them again, while Senna takes off at full speed to make a sweeping run down the field. However, Senna passes the ball to Hiruma, who cleverly fakes a throw and then quickly tosses it to Montaro, allowing him to score an easy touchdown. After that, the game goes on with Daemon scoring points one after another. No one can match Senna's incredible speed, and he easily scores another touchdown without being stopped. Watching this, Panther begs his coach to let him play, saying that he's the only one who can stop Senna, and if he isn't allowed to join, he'll quit the team. Hearing this, the coach pauses and starts thinking about his own younger days. Suddenly, the entire American team joins in, pleading with the coach to let Panther play. Finally, the coach gives in and allows Panther to step onto the field. As Panther walks out to play, the coach watches closely, wondering how well his special moonsault formation will perform this time. Afterward, Team Damon gets shocked to see the Americans' new moonsault formation, and Hiruma says that they are doing this only for Panther. The game resumes with Panther getting the ball, so everyone runs towards him to stop. However, Panther quickly runs past Kurita and Daikichi, which shocks everyone. Afterward, Panther runs right through the Haha brothers, which make others think that he is someone special. Then, Senna quickly runs towards the Panther with his explosive speed burst. Panther quickly runs past him and gets a touchdown, but Shin, who is also watching the match, thinks that Senna can only hit his top speed in small bursts, but Panther maintains his top speed while avoiding tackles. Meanwhile, the American team's coach starts to wonder if he had been using Panther's one small act of disobedience as an excuse to keep him off the field, even though Panther is clearly a natural sprinter. The game goes on, and once again, Panther speeds past everyone and quickly tackles Senna, who's carrying the ball. Seeing this, Hiruma tells his team that the opponent's defense has become a serious problem and that they now have to find a way to defend against both their strong defense and Panther at the same time. After that, the American team gains another 20 yards, and the match keeps going in their favor, mostly thanks to Panther's amazing speed. Soon after, Senna and Panther face each other head-to-head, but this time Panther moves swiftly, dodging Senna's attempt to stop him, and scores an easy touchdown. Later, one of the American players asks the coach why he thinks Panther never quit the team, even though he never let him play. They explain that Panther always spoke kindly about him and that his biggest dream is to go pro so his grandmother can have a better, easier life. They also tell the coach that Panther respects him so deeply that no matter how harshly he was treated, he never complained. After that, the match goes on with Senna struggling to keep up against Panther, who tells him that he hasn't even used his full strength yet. In the final moments, the American team needs one last touchdown, and they're ahead by 14 points. Panther rushes forward, but Senna runs after him like a wild animal, determined to stop him from scoring again. Senna manages to slip past Panther's hand and tries to knock the ball away, putting everything he has into the move. Right after that, Senna collapses and faints from exhaustion. When he finally wakes up, Mamoru tells him that they lost the match by just one single point. Later, Hiruma announces to his team that they'll be getting special training in America, and before anyone can argue, he drags the whole team out of Japan and takes them to Houston for an intense boot camp. He even brings Cerberus along, asking Senna to take care of the dog during the trip. Meanwhile, Kazuki starts freaking out because he absolutely hates flying, but Hiruma just smirks and tells everyone that if they're scared, they can jump out of the plane anytime they want. Later that night, on the same airplane, a little girl is sitting quietly with a stuffed toy that looks exactly like Cerberus. Sitting beside her are two wanted men, and while the girl is asleep, the men secretly hide a big jewel inside her stuffed toy without her knowing. Jumanji, who goes to the bathroom because he's feeling airsick, brings the little girl's stuffed toy back to Cerberus's seat when he returns. But when the girl wakes up, she mistakes the real Cerberus for her toy and manages to lure him into a suitcase using beef jerky. Eventually, the plane lands safely in Houston, and Hiruma tells everyone that they're completely out of money, so they'll have to earn cash while they're there. Soon after, Senna and Montaro realize that Cerberus is missing, so they rush out to search for him. Kurita then explains to everyone that Hiruma first met Cerberus back when they were in middle school. After hearing that, the whole team decides to help find Cerberus, while Jumanji and the other Haha brothers start selling Cerberus-themed stuffed toys to raise some extra money. However, the police soon arrive and arrest the two men, but then they notice Hiruma nearby and call him over to help with the situation. Meanwhile, Senna and Montaro finally manage to find Cerberus, but before they can take him back, the same two men from before steal the suitcase that Cerberus is inside. Senna and Montaro chase after them as fast as they can, but they accidentally crash into Kurita's big stomach and fall over. Senna quickly gets back up and manages to grab the suitcase, but the men snatch it away again. Right then, Hiruma shouts Cerberus's name loudly, making the dog furious, and Cerberus bursts out of the suitcase on his own. At that moment, the police show up again and catch the two criminals for good, earning Hiruma and the others a nice bounty reward for helping capture them. Afterward, they all return to the hotel, where Hiruma gives them only 3 rooms to share. However, the Haha brothers immediately grab one key and rush to claim a room for themselves. Mamoru then asks Senna if he wants to share a room with her, but he quickly refuses, saying he'll find another place instead. The next morning, Senna and Montaro head out to get breakfast, but they suddenly stumble upon a crime scene right in front of them, causing them to panic and run away in fear. While running, they end up getting lost and try to call the hotel from a telephone booth, but someone suddenly scares them off. After running around for a while, they find themselves at a football field where two teams are having a match. Just then, the ball flies toward them, and Montaro jumps to catch it but ends up falling down. The people nearby ask if they're Japanese and whether they can play football. After that, they decide to let Senna and Montaro join the game as fill-in players. After that, the match begins, and Senna quickly notices that there are lots of players who look and play just like Kurita on the other team. Even so, Montaro manages to make a great catch and then passes the ball to Senna, who dashes past a bunch of defenders and scores an easy touchdown. Just then, another player arrives late and a kind old grandma nearby says she thought he was with his wife, who's having a baby. A moment later, one of the team members brings up Panther's name, and Senna and Montaro tell them that they played against his team back in Japan. The grandma smiles and tells them that Panther actually learned how to play football right here in Houston. After that, the game continues with both sides giving their best, but Senna manages to run past the big guy and score a touchdown. When the game ends, everyone celebrates with a small drinking party, and the grandma gives Senna and Montaro some oatmeal. Suddenly, the big guy gets a call from the hospital saying his wife is in labor. However, the doctor is out fishing on the beach, so Senna has to hurry and find him before it's too late. Meanwhile, Hiruma finally finds what he's been looking for. The next day, Hiruma orders the Daemon members to meet at the beach, though the Haha brothers are confused about why they're all gathering there. Meanwhile, Hiruma talks to a man, saying that he will do whatever it takes to win the Christmas Bowl championship, and that is the main reason why he is here at this place. After that, everyone starts enjoying their time and having fun at the beach together, but suddenly and out of nowhere, Senna spots a wild bull that is running loose and free. The bull goes completely out of control and starts running wildly everywhere, but a cowboy quickly throws a rock at it to stop it from running around. Soon, Senna, Mamoru, and Montaro run into the Cebu Wild Gunman's coach and the cowboy, who are also at the beach. After that, the 21st annual Texas Beach Football Tournament takes place, which is a simpler version of football played on the sand. Senna and the Wild Gunman squad form a 5-man team to compete for the prize, a Texan beef carcass and $1,000. However, Mamoru suddenly says she wants to join the game too, surprising both Senna and Montaro. Soon, the match begins, and the cowboy passes the ball to Montaro, but he barely manages to touch it. Then, the cowboy throws the ball to Senna, but because Mamoru is there, Senna gets nervous and can't play properly. After a while, Tetsuma shows up to wake Kid, as Kid told him to wake him after 3 hours, and he ends up replacing the coach. Meanwhile, Hiruma notices Daemon playing sand football and wonders what they are doing. On the other hand, Mamoru tries to help Senna but gets pushed back by the opposing players. Seeing this, Senna regains his confidence and decides to run like Eyeshield 21 once again. He dashes past everyone with incredible speed, kicking up a sandstorm behind him, and scores an easy touchdown. Afterward, their team advances to the finals, where they're set to face off against a tattooed gang. When the match begins, the opponents start by casually passing the ball among themselves. Meanwhile, an old man agrees to Hiruma's deal, but only if they win the tournament. Hearing this, Hiruma decides to replace Mamoru and orders Senna to run to his maximum potential. With Hiruma now taking Mamoru's position, their coordination greatly improves. Working in perfect sync with the cowboy, Hiruma sets up a clean pass to Senna, who speeds through the defense and scores the final touchdown, securing their victory. Later that night, everyone holds a barbecue party, and the old men also agreed to coach Daemon as part of his deal. The old men then ask Hiruma where Musashi is, so Hiruma says that Musashi will come back as part of his perfect plan. Meanwhile, Senna and Montaro hear that and ask Kurita who Musashi is, so Kurita says that he is their friend. He explains that back when they were in middle school, all three of them promised each other that they would go to the Christmas Bowl together. However, Montaro asks why he decided to quit, so Kurita says that a lot has happened, and then Senna realizes that it's the reason why Hiruma never looked for a kicker. Montano tells Senna that they are going to get on a huge winning streak which will get Musashi come back. The next morning, Senna and Montaro wake up really early in the day to find the Wild Gunman team training like complete maniacs and working out like crazy people. Just then, the coach arrives at the training area as well and makes everyone start training hard, and he tells them that he is going to teach them how to explode with power and speed. Hiruma then tells the coach the secret that Senna is actually Eyeshield 21, who is so fast that even Ojo's Shin cannot match him in pure speed and quickness. Later that night when it gets dark, The coach trains Senna again and works with him to check and see if he is actually better than Shin or not. He then explains to Senna that during all those one-on-one runs and races against Shin and Panther that he had before, he did not even manage to carry the ball straight through either one of them successfully. Later, Hiruma explains that Daemon High doesn't allow extracurricular activities after the second year, meaning this is his and Kurita's final chance to reach the Christmas Bowl. That's why they have to get stronger within the next 40 days. The coach worries that such intense training in such a short time will be brutal, but Hiruma asks him if there's any other way to turn their team into a championship-level squad so quickly. Determined, Hiruma declares that they'll undergo the Death March, a grueling training regimen, and vows to complete it even if it kills him. On the day the Daemon team is supposed to fly back to Japan, every single member chooses to stay behind and join Hiruma and Kurita on the Death March. Hiruma then tells them that they are going to walk back to Japan and they are going to earn money in Las Vegas. Hiruma explains that they got 40 days to walk 2,000 kilometers from Texas to Las Vegas, and this is what Death March training really is. The Death March training begins and Montano and Yukimitsu must run routes while Hiruma shoots them. The defensive lineman must push a truck. Senna has to kick a rock across the whole 2,000 kilometers, and the coach thinks that if he can kick the stone until the end, not only will he conquer the fatal flaw in his running, but his cuts will become so vicious, even Shin won't be able to stop them. Meanwhile, the American team and the NASA aliens are enjoying their time in Japan. However, Panther's teammates inform him that Shin and the White Knights are currently doing their training camp on Mount Fuji. Hearing this, Panther decides to hike up Mount Fuji himself, determined to challenge Shin once more. Later, the coach tells the team that the NASA aliens have officially changed their name to the NASA Shuttles, a move to escape Hiruma's contract that banned them from returning to the US under their old team's name. Afterward, the coach tells Panther that he'll keep his uniform safe back in America and that Panther should return soon. Meanwhile, Shin is running through Mount Fuji as part of his special training. He has to stay there for the full 40 days they have left before the fall tournament. At the same time, the Daemon players are also struggling with their intense training routine. On the other hand, Shin's teammates decide to look for him since they heard there are wild boars in the forest. While in the forest, Panther finally finds Shin, but Shin mistakes him for a hungry traveler and offers him some meat to eat. Afterward, Shin's teammates arrive, and Panther starts telling them the whole story about how their team's name got changed and everything that happened. Then, Panther asks Shin to train with him, saying that since he already went up against Eyeshield, the only one left to face is him. However, during their training, Panther can't keep up with Shin's incredible speed and power. Shin points out that Panther's running is too focused on efficiency, which limits his ability to match true power and explosiveness. Panther then asks if Senna would be able to get past him, and Shin replies that it's possible but only if Senna can overcome his weakness. Later that night, the coach tells Senna about super recovery and explains when their muscles are sore, but if they rest and heal, they will be even stronger than they were before. He also explains that training is useless if they rest afterwards, so that super recovery can work its magic, but Hiruma says that they won't make it to Las Vegas if they rest after every day they train. Hiruma then shoots at Senna and others, saying the Death March was originally supposed to be a killer program where they worked at night. Later, Mamoru applies some bandages on Hiruma's wounds on his legs while Senna still trains with his stone. Meanwhile, Kazuki walks up to Senna, asks if he is tired already and how long he has been loving football. Kazuki then asks if it's strange that they are actually participating in this killer program, which Kazuki finds it strange because they used to be always annoying others and wanted to change just like him. Later that night, Kazuki's friends whisper to him that they should escape while they still can, but Kazuki asks if they really plan on running away now. Around the same time, Senna and Montaro wake up to go pee and overhear part of the conversation. Just then, Kazuki stops his friends from sneaking off. At that moment, the coach appears and hands them a map to the Japanese embassy, telling them that in 40 days, the fall tournament will begin, the last one Hiruma and Kurita will ever have, so they have no choice but to endure this death march. Hearing that, Kuroki and Tagano decide to leave anyway, despite Kazuki's desperate attempts to stop them. The next morning, Senna and the others realize Kazuki is missing. Senna guesses that he probably went after Kuroki and Tagano to bring them back, but Hiruma insists they can't wait any longer and orders the team to move out immediately. However, Senna says that he won't leave until everyone comes back, so the rest of the team starts heading out except for Montaro and Senna, who choose to stay behind. Seeing that, Daikichi also decides to stay with them. Meanwhile, Kazuki catches up with Kuroki and Tagano in the middle of the heavy rain. He tells them that he's sticking with the death march no matter what. The two start arguing with him, and soon they begin throwing punches. After trading blows, Kazuki tells them that this is their only chance to change themselves and become stronger. In the end, the three of them decide to stay together. Later, Senna and the others finally find a motel where they all reunite and Hiruma gives them some cards to practice. The next day, Senna pushes his stone on the street like usual, but he accidentally kicks the rock into a motorcycle gang. Knowing that he will have to run the whole death march again if he loses it, he runs after them and gets separated from the rest of the team. Soon, Senna ends up in a scary place full of adult bikers who tell Senna that they ran into a Japanese girl who was looking for a boy, and Senna realizes that it must be Mamoru. Afterward, the biker gang takes Senna back with them to the place where the girl was looking for a boy. Instead of Mamoru, Suzuna shows up, and both she and Senna are shocked to see each other. Senna explains that the entire Daemon team is currently in America for their training camp, then asks why she's there. Suzuna replies that she came to look for her older brother, Natsuhiko Taki. After that, Suzuna tries to head off on her own to find him, but Senna follows her, saying that he's always been a bit careless and needs to make sure she's okay. He admits that he's used to having Mamoru around to look after him, so he can't just let Suzuna go alone. Eventually, they arrive at a football tryout area, and to Suzuna's surprise, her older brother Taki is right there, proudly announcing that she must have come to cheer for his career. However, Suzuna quickly beats him up and hits him for running away from her, and she tells him that their mother is also worried and concerned about him. Later on, Suzuna's brother asks Senna if he came all the way from Japan for the tryouts too, and when the tryout starts and begins, Senna goes in to participate, but he is completely overwhelmed by the huge crowd of people there. Inside the tryout area, Senna struggles really hard in the tryouts and has a difficult time, unlike the other massive giants who can easily lift 100 kilos without any problems. However, Suzuna's brother easily clears and passes every single test with an amazing speed that impresses everyone. Senna then gets an idea in his head that if he can do anything at all, he can invite him to join his team back in Japan. Suzuna then quickly informs and tells Senna that there is a phone call for him, so Hiruma tells him through the phone to get back home right away. However, Senna decides to stay and participate in the tryout match alongside Suzuna's brother. Senna is still scared of opponent team's giants who are waiting for Crush Senna and Natsuhiko, but he still assures Senna that they can play them all. However, Suzuna quickly says that Natsuhiko doesn't know the rules, positions or anything, and he is completely useless. At the start of the match, Senna notices someone on the field who looks exactly like Ishimaru. When the game begins, the B team's thrower passes the ball to Natsuhiko, and Senna is surprised that even though Natsuhiko doesn't know the positions properly, he still manages to catch it. On the second try, the giant from Team A shoves the thrower hard and starts playing dirty so that he can't make accurate throws anymore. Senna applies and uses all the training that he learned from the death march in the match that he is playing. When he scores the winning goal and gets the final points, Senna's last opponent declares and says that he saw a ghost standing right beside Senna as he ran past him. When the names of all those people who passed the tryouts are read out loud to everyone, Suzuna's brother's name is skipped over and not called out. He did not make it through the tryouts, and so because of that, Senna asks him if he wants to become a member of the Daemon Devil Bats team instead. He accepts the offer and agrees to join them, and the Taki siblings and Senna leave the tryout place together. Right after they leave and walk away, the announcer says and calls out Senna's name. Later that night, everyone eats dinner together when Senna thinks that he needs to talk to Hiruma about Natsuhiko joining the team. Senna then asks Hiruma what he thinks about making Natsuhiko their tight end, but Hiruma refuses. However, Hiruma says that they have only 1 month left, and if he survives the rest of the death march, he will consider it. The next day, Natsuhiko struggles in training, but when he sees Senna running fast while kicking a stone, he feels ashamed of himself. Afterward, Natsuhiko begins training properly as well, and so does the others, which makes the coach think that they are actually working hard. However, Senna notices that Yukimitsu collapses during the run. Later that night, the coach tells everyone to get ready for tomorrow as it's going to be tough, so they all eat much more than usual. The next day, Hiruma makes Natsuhiko and Montaro train really hard and works out intensely as he personally shoots at them with his gun while they run around. While everyone is doing their training exercises, Yukimitsu keeps struggling to run and has a really hard time keeping up with the others. On the other hand, the truck that belongs to Daemon runs out of gas completely, so they all try to stop cars that are passing by to ask for help from the drivers, but none of them stops for them at all. So, the girls try to stop the cars instead, and someone finally stops their car to help them out. Afterward, Yukimitsu collapses and falls down on the ground, so everyone takes care of him and tries to help him feel better, but Senna goes to talk to Hiruma about it, but Hiruma tells him that they will not stop the training for him, and the coach quickly says that Yukimitsu will not be able to last much longer at this rate. The next day, the Daemon Devil Bat's truck gets stuck in a pothole on the road, and with one final push together as a team working side by side, Daemon overcomes and gets past the last obstacle in their way. After arriving in Las Vegas City, on the pirate boat that is outside Treasure Island Hotel, Doboroku confronts Senna and tests him to see if the ghost move is complete and fully developed. Senna passes through Doboroku successfully with the new Devil Bat ghost move that he learned, and Doboroku realizes and understands that Senna has unlimited potential that has no limits. At the hotel where they are staying, everyone rests and relaxes in preparation for the long journey back home to Japan. The next day after they rest, Hiruma sells Doboroku's truck to get money and tells him to go to the casino and bet everything he has on roulette number 21 on red 21. The money that he wins pays off Doboroku's debt that he owes completely, and he returns to Japan with the entire team together. Finally, Team Daemon returns to Japan, and on their way, Sen asks Hiruma about Ojo's Kanto tournament. Hiruma tells them that Ojo lost to Shinryuji, which surprises them, so Hiruma says that Ojo couldn't do anything to stop them. Meanwhile, some older generation Ojo players are scolding Shin and the others for losing against Shinryuji miserably. They even yell at Sakuraba, saying they don't care if he is a model or movie star, but they don't need weak pretty boys who don't give 110%. Earlier, Sakuraba trains even harder and puts in more effort so that they can defeat Shinryuji team in their match, but the coach is worried and concerned about him since he is trying to match Shin's training schedule exactly. Sakuraba does every single exercise that Shin does in order to match his level of skill and strength, but then he realizes that he is not even half of Shin's best abilities, and he feels really bad about himself because he did the same training as him and only got this far with his progress. Sakuraba then tells his teammate that he is completely useless and worthless, and he wasted 5 whole years of his life, so it is all pointless now and means nothing, but his teammate punches Sakuraba hard in the face. Later that day, the president kidnaps Sakuraba and takes him back to doing modeling work against his will, but then the president notices a headband on Sakuraba's clothes, so he realizes that it was given to him by his fan who supports him, and he then quickly runs out of the car to escape. Sakuraba then gets back to the team and finds Shin training really hard in that heavy rain that is pouring down, so he starts crying with tears and asks Shin how he can be in the top tier of players like him. Afterward, the coach calls Shin over to talk to him and tell him about Takami and how he lacked being a good quarterback in the matches before, but now he thinks that Takami and Sakuraba's height gives them a powerful new weapon to use in games. Afterward, Sakuraba starts crying with emotions and leaves the place where they were talking, and outside he finds Takami standing right in front of him waiting. Then, they all begin their training like usual. Back in present, Hiruma tells everyone that the fall tournament's just around the corner and all the other teams have leveled up as well, so they can't get to the Christmas Bowl until they beat all of them. The next day at school, the new term starts and some freaky basketball players try to flirt with Mamoru, but Montaro teaches them a lesson. Later, Senna and the others go back to their clubhouse where they find Suzuna cheering for them, but then Mamoru also joins them in a weird cheering outfit that makes her uncomfortable. Afterward, Suzuna tells them that she is now the captain of the cheerleading squad and her brother is now part of the team. However, Senna says that the team selection hasn't started yet, which surprises her. Just then, Suzuna's brother arrives and Suzuna tells him to flex once he passes the test, and if he fails, she won't let him live peacefully. Just then, Hiruma and the coach arrive and tells everyone to start practicing as today will be their final selection. Afterward, everyone begins their test and Senna and Montaro get good points and so do the others. Hiruma then shows them his cards again in front of everyone and tells them to memorize every last one of them by the time the tournament starts for real. Seeing Natsuhiko standing there with the team, the coach thinks to himself that he is a good influence on the entire team, so he gets 10 extra points added to his score. Afterward, it is time for 40-yard dash training on the field, and as usual Senna gets really good points for his speed, and so does Monta with his running time. However, Yukimitsu also gets 5.6 seconds on his dash, which is even better than his previous 6-second record that he had before. Later that night after all the practice, Hiruma stops the training session, and everyone wonders among themselves that they are not even tired like usual because they are now even stronger than they were before this training camp. The next day, Hiruma announces the first string members list for the tournament and Senna hopes that everyone makes it. Hiruma then starts saying the members' names, which includes most of them and Senna and Ishimaru on the running back as well. Finally, it's time for the tight end position and to everyone's surprise, Hiruma announces Natsuhiko's name on the list, which makes everyone cheer. In the end, everyone waits for Yukimitsu's name and he is excited and hopeful, but Hiruma shocks everyone by not picking him. Instead, he chooses Satake and Yamaoka, the basketball freaks. Hearing that, Momori asks Hiruma why he didn't pick Yukimitsu, and Hiruma simply says that Yukimitsu is pretty much average in everything. The next day, everyone gathers in the clubhouse including Senna, who is wearing his Eyeshield 21 mask on his face, but when Momori enters the room, she asks Suzuna where Senna is right now. Suzuna then starts wondering to herself why Senna has not revealed to Momori that he is actually Eyeshield 21 this whole time. Suddenly, Kurita runs to them in a hurry and says that there are TV staffers who want to interview Eyeshield 21 right now in the clubhouse. Then, the interviewer woman walks up to Senna confidently and says that she will now interview the highly rumored hero Senna for television, but then Senna just runs away to the rooftop with Suzuna following him. Suzuna then asks him again when they are alone that why he kept it a secret from Momori all this time, so he tells her that it is because Hiruma told him to keep it hidden from everyone. Afterward, Senna explains his entire story to Suzuna since he got into this high school and how he met Hiruma for the first time. Suzuna asks him if he decided to join the football team because Momori told him to join a club at school. Senna then explains to her that he got a position as a team manager in Hiruma's team at first, but then they made him practice like a real player instead of managing. Senna then tells her that he even thought about quitting the team once, and it happened when he fought against Ojo's player Shin in a game. Senna then says to her that they did not have many players at first when the team started, but slowly the team started growing with new members from Montaro to Jumanji and his buddies joining them, and now her brother is also part of the team. Just then, the interviewer gets to rooftop and finds Senna and Suzuna, but then Hiruma arrives in a helicopter and throws some smoke grenades, so then they both escape from there. Afterward, Senna continues telling his entire story to her, but then she says that everyone knows about Eyeshield 21 except Momori. Senna tells her that Momori is the one who protects him all the time, so she would be afraid that he gets hurt, but Suzuna asks if he is going to keep it a secret forever, but Senna says that he will tell her when he is a good enough player. Moreover, he believes that he will tell her when he is good enough to defeat Shin. The next day, Kurita and the others get really pumped up in training, which makes Senna and Montaro work even harder. Finally, there is only 1 week left in their first match against Amino High School, who has nickname of the game Stealing Amino. Meanwhile, Team Amino High School is going under extreme training with high-tech technology to monitor their body. They further think that they are already superior in every way, like defense, offense. Meanwhile, Team Daemon continues their practice sessions every day, and almost every day goes the same for them with training and drills. Later that evening, Momori tells Senna that this is her first time ever seeing him get so enthusiastic over something like football, but then the other team members arrive at the clubhouse as well to join them. Finally, there is only 1 day left until the game starts for real, and Kurita and the other players cannot wait for it to begin. Kazuki tells them seriously that in this tournament competition, they are finished if they lose just once in any match, and this makes Kurita's excitement go away completely to waste. Feeling disheartened, Kurita leaves the clubhouse, and unlike his usual self, he barely eats anything as he keeps thinking about their recent loss. Meanwhile, Musashi tells Hiruma to find a new kicker, but Hiruma replies that they can't just turn anyone into a skilled kicker overnight. At the same time, over at Amino High School, someone claims they've already discovered Eyeshield 21's fatal flaw. The next day, everyone at the clubhouse starts to worry because Kurita has been missing since yesterday. Afterward, they all try to look for Kurita everywhere around the school as he is hiding somewhere, and he is thinking to himself that they cannot lose because of him and his mistakes. Meanwhile, Hiruma finds Kurita hiding in his usual spot behind the school building, but Kurita tells Hiruma that he is really scared as his dream was to play football with everyone, but tomorrow it is going to decide whether they will continue playing or not. Hiruma then tries to encourage him in his usual evil ways with threats and motivation, and it turns out Kurita finally agrees to get out of his hiding spot after hearing his words, and then Hiruma takes everyone to the stadium to practice. On the other hand, the guy who has been watching Eyeshield 21's weaknesses thinks to himself that at this rate with their current performance, Daemon is going to lose their first match in the tournament. The next day, it is tournament time for everyone, and all the teams arrive at the stadium including Amino High School, Ojo White Knights and Daemon Devil Bats. Momori then tells Senna and the others on the team that their game against Amino is scheduled in the afternoon later today. But then some doctors arrive at their area who introduce themselves as Munakata and his staff from Amino High School. However, Senna and the others get really shocked to see the players having massive muscles like it is their bodybuilding tournament instead of football. It turns out that they are using medical science and special training to increase their muscle sizes to become stronger players. However, Montaro and Daikichi also introduce their coach to them in front of everyone, saying that he is also one of the best coaches out there in the entire sport. The other team's guy recognizes him immediately and says that he followed a decidedly unscientific training regimen that destroyed both their team and his own body back in the day. Senna then straight up says to them that they chose to follow him because they want to win the tournament no matter what happens. Munakata shows Senna his scientific data on a clipboard, saying that they have revealed all there is to know about his running style and weaknesses from watching footage. Later, Senna follows Natsuhiko onto the wrong bus and ends up to a faraway place, Nagano. On the other hand, other members of the team wonder that they are still missing Senna and Natsuhiko. Meanwhile, Daemon, without their ace player on the field, must defeat Amino High School in this match. At first, the Daemon defensive linemen cannot hold Amino back from pushing forward, and they have a touchdown scored on them by the other team. Then Doboroko brings in a large truck to the practice area and tells them to push it with all their strength until they remember how to push with their hips instead of just their arms, just like during the Death March training they did before. Daemon pushes through the defensive line with their new technique and Manta catches a ball in the air for a first down for the team. The current score is 7-0 with Amino leading the game, and it is all because of Eyeshield, who is not present. Afterward, Hiruma tells Montaro that the enemy is going to crush him, but he wonders what he should do. Hiruma says that he has to do nothing but catch that ball even if it kills him, and that he should crush them totally because they are going to the Christmas Bowl. Afterward, Montaro runs in a zigzag position which surprises the other team's player. Hiruma then passes the ball to him through the air, and Montaro manages to catch it with both hands, but then a massive guy from the other team manages to tackle Montaro down to the ground. Meanwhile, the coach thinks to himself that there is no way that Montaro could stand a chance against those massive build monsters on the opposing team. Meanwhile, Rue gives Senna a lift to the stadium on his motorcycle so he can get there faster. Back in the game on the field, Amino scores another touchdown against Daemon and increases their lead even more, and then Hiruma tells another guy on the team that they cannot win this game with knowledge alone and need something more. Afterward, Montaro keeps trying to get a touchdown for his team, but every time he tries his best to score, the other team's player stops him from advancing. However, then Daemon tries playing a dirty game with a trick play as Montaro fakes having the ball in his hands, and then Ishimaru gets a touchdown instead while everyone is distracted. It turns out that the Amino team has no data on Ishimaru as a player because they only relied on collecting information about the main players on the team. Afterward, Ishimaru and Manta both score touchdowns for Daemon one after another and help their team catch up in points. The current score in the game is 14-12 with Amino still in the lead. Senna is launched off the bike dramatically and lands in the stadium with a flashy appearance in front of everyone watching. He reveals his new technique called Daemon Devil Bat Ghost to the crowd, which is a technique where a runner increases his speed and turns sharply so that the opponent cannot predict where the runner will turn next, while the linebacker sees a ghostly image where the player seems to have disappeared like smoke in the air. Shin acknowledges from the sidelines that Senna has grown again as a player since the last time they faced each other. The final score ends up being 36-14, which gives Daemon their first victory in the tournament competition. Afterward, Team Bando Spiders also won because of their kicker, Sasaki. Hiruma tells everyone that his extra point success ratio is 100% and that 1 point difference is between victory and defeat. The coach then asks Hiruma about Musashi, but Hiruma doesn't answer. On the other hand, Musashi is working on his tools when he sees one of Kazuki's buddies playing with his helmet as if it's a ball. However, Musashi picks up the helmet and says that those who don't care about their equipment ever make it to the top. Just then, Senna also arrives there and they all get shocked to hear that. Senna quickly sends the Haha brothers away and apologizes to Musashi about them. However, Musashi tells Senna that his speedy legs are amazing, but he can get even faster than that. Finally, the first day of tournament is over and the editor-in-chief thinks that Daemon can get back Musashi back, then there are chances that they might win the tournament. The next day, Senna tells Montaro that they should find Musashi and convince him to rejoin the team and play with them again, but they do not know where to actually find him or where he is. Suddenly, they hear some students talking about a person called Muro Satoshi, so Senna and Montaro think that he might be Musashi and could be the person they are looking for. Afterward, they go to find that boy in the field with blonde hair who they think is that person they need. Just then, they also find the very famous kicker Sasaki, who challenges that American team's fake Musashi to a kicking contest. The real Musashi, who is walking by the field, thinks to himself that Senna found the wrong guy and has the wrong person. On the other hand, Senna asks the fake Musashi to come back to their football team and play with them, but the fake Musashi tells them to bring 2 other players for a penalty kick challenge first. However, Senna and Montaro could not bring anyone with them to help, so they decided to try the penalty by kicking themselves without any help. Senna throws a pretty good kick that goes back, but then another guy throws a super curve ball that moves in the air. It turns out that the real Musashi is also watching their game alongside the other people who are there. Finally, it is the real Musashi's turn to kick the ball, and when Senna and Montaro ask him if he ever played football before in his life, he refuses to answer and says no. Afterward, Musashi goes to kick the football, and when he does it, the ball goes straight and fast like a rocket launcher shooting through the air, and then he reveals himself as the real Musashi to everyone. Afterward, Senna tries his best to convince Musashi to join their team and play with them, and Musashi says that he will think about it and consider the offer, and then he leaves the area. Afterward, Hiruma says that Natsuhiko must pass the entrance exam to be able to play for Daemon in their upcoming matches. Suzuna tells them all that Taki has failed every single school with American football in Japan except Daemon, which has accepted every student who applies due to their small number of application students coming in, but Natsuhiko left Japan before being accepted to any school. It turns out Taki is indeed an idiot when it comes to regular schoolwork, and Suzuna leaves in frustration after hearing this, with Senna following behind her to comfort her about the situation. As it turns out later, Taki can answer the questions correctly if they are somehow related to American football in any way. Taki does the exam to try his best and a bare pass score is 200 points to get in. At night, as the marker is marking the answer sheet at his desk, Hiruma's shadow appears behind him in a threatening way. As the marker announces that Taki is safe with 203 points on his exam, Hiruma's shadow disappears from behind him, and the marker also mentions out loud how he feels that he is the one who somehow made it possible for Taki to pass. Daemon beats the Zokugaku Chameleons in a practice match because of Taki's skills on the field helping the team. At the end of the game, the Zokugaku Chameleons are seen carrying their motorcycles on their backs all the way home as their punishment from their manager, Megu Tsuyuman, for losing the match. Hiruma forbids and does not allow Senna to use the Devil Bat Ghost move until a real game happens in order to keep spies from getting looks at it and seeing how it works. Meanwhile, Shin and Odawara from the Ojo team have begun practicing in a corporation league called the Shui Elephants to better improve and hone their skills and abilities. The freshman players of the Devil Bats have decided to go to the same stadium called Shui Stadium to inspect the next playing field where they will compete. The Shui Elephants and the Samurai Warriors teams have an important practice match together that they need to play, but Taki Natsuhiko leads some of the Samurai Warriors regular players onto the wrong bus that goes to Nagano Hot Springs by mistake again. Due to the Samurai Warriors' lack of players in the match they need to play, Kamasubi and Manta substitute and fill in for them and play in the Corporation League practice match instead. Senna is determined and really wants to play in the match as well, but he cannot play due to the lack of an Eyeshield that he needs to wear, but Suzuna manages to find an Eyeshield for him, so Senna saves the match when he enters the game and starts playing. However, Shin wants to see Senna's devil-like ghost run move instead of it being sealed and hidden away from everyone. Afterward, the other team decides to substitute and an old geezer walks up to Shin and his buddy and asks if they would like to play and they agree. Afterward, Shin and Senna stood in front of each other as Shin wanted to play with him desperately. The match then begins and Kurita easily gets crushed by the massive guy in front of him, so Montaro quickly tells other one to pass the ball to him, but Montaro gets trapped. The ball then goes to Senna, who runs as fast as he can, but Shin appears in front of him, but Senna remembers that Hiruma told him that the Devil Bat Ghost is their secret weapon which they can't afford to show off. Senna then gets tackled down hard by Shin because he did not use his secret weapon move that everyone knows he has. Shin then asks him why he is not using the running style that he used against Amino in their previous game and asks if he really thinks he can defeat him by using that running style instead. Afterward, the second round begins and starts up, and Kurita and the other players try their very best to stand against the wall of defenders, and then they get crushed and pushed back hard. On the other hand, the pass route gets blocked by the defense, but the guy passes the ball back to Senna, who quickly runs with it to get a touchdown and score points. However, Shin almost crashes right into Senna like he did before in their previous match, but Senna dodges him and moves out of the way and tries to run past him, but he fails as Shin grabs him and catches him. However, Shin is disappointed and let down as Senna refuses to use the Devil Bat Ghost move due to his previous orders that he got from Hiruma earlier. The Samurai's team is losing the game badly due to Odawara and Shin's entrance into the game on the other side, and the defensive line cannot withstand Odawara's power and strength. The Haha brothers arrive at the stadium and see Senna, Manta, and Kamasubi playing in the game, so they too join the game and decide to play with them. Shin tells Senna that since he finally got the chance to face him in a real match, he will not hold back his power at all, and that Senna should not hold back either and should give it his all. With the encouragement and support of Manta, Kamasubi, and the Haha brothers cheering him on, Senna decides to use the Devil Bat Ghost move after all. Later, Hiruma takes everyone out to the beach where they wonder what they are going to do here. Just then, they see a team on the beach doing sumo fundoshi, and turns out the team is known as Yuhi Guts, which are their second-round opponents. The Haha brothers thinks that they are crazy for running a marathon on the beach, but Hiruma tells that from an objective standpoint, Daemon has 99% chance of winning, but the 1% chance of losing can't be ignored either. The coach then says that they have been playing football for 3 years and that experience makes for a big gap. Meanwhile, the Yuhi Guts guys are crying over their friendship and how they are a strong bond together. Their coach, who is actually a baddie, sees Team Daemon, and then the players of Yuhi Guts greet Senna nicely. The next day, everyone gathers in the field to watch Ojo's match against Sankaku Punks. On the other hand, Sakuraba doesn't care about his fan base, which has gotten so low because of his new looks. Afterward, their match begins and everyone is eagerly waiting to see Ojo's performance. The match starts with Ojo's solid defense that is very strong, and Takami passes the ball super high up in the air towards Sakuraba, which everyone watching thinks that he is going to miss and not catch. However, Sakuraba jumps even higher than Montaro can jump and manages to catch the ball successfully in the air. In the second round of the game, Sakuraba dashes forward and runs really fast, and he easily catches Takami's shot that he throws to him, which leads him to score a touchdown again for more points. The match continues going on with the Ojo White Knights having 6 score points on the board while the Sankaku Punks are still at 0 points. On the other hand, Senna sees and notices that the Yuhi Guts key player is actually taking notes and writing down things from this match that is happening, and not only him but the entire team is motivated and ready to play really hard in their games. Meanwhile, Team Ojo's player manages to tackle the other team's player really badly, which stuns and shocks everyone who is watching the game. Senna realizes and understands that Shin has become faster and stronger over the summer break that they had, so they wonder how much training he must have gone through to get this good. Senna further realizes and sees that all the players of Team Ojo are running towards one thing, which is to win the championship, and just like that, Team Ojo wins the match against their opponents. Afterward, it is time for Yuhi Guts to go against Daemon in their match, but then Hiruma approaches Itsumi and scares him really badly like a vampire would scare someone. Hiruma then says that they might be studying about them through videos that they watched, but they are actually hiding a guy who got scouted by the professional teams to play. However, the other guy says that he knows that they are going to come at them with everything they have, but they are still not going to lose in any way either, no matter what happens. Afterward, a bunch of huge guys just came out of the Yuhi Guts team locker room, which surprised everyone watching as they thought they were a team of only 10 players in total. The huge guys then come up to Senna and the others and say that they are actually fill-in players who are helping out, but then Montaro notices that one of them is their ace baseball player who went to Koshien tournament. The match then begins with Montaro almost catching the ball in the air, but the huge guys easily push the ball away from his hands. In the next try that they make, Yuhi's players steal the ball from Senna and take it away, and then he easily kicks the ball into the goal, which gets Yuhi 7 points in the lead over Daemon. On the other hand, Senna thinks that they even stopped Montaro and him from playing well, but Hiruma asks if the fill-in players are really better than the real players who usually play. Montaro thinks that these players are only playing because of extra credits that they get from school, as they do not love football or anything about sport. Senna then gets an idea in his head that if they make them realize that a team of fill-in players cannot defeat Daemon at all, then they can let the real Yuhi players play instead. Afterward, the match continues and Montaro runs, but when the huge guys catch up to him, Hiruma throws a short pass to Natsuhiko. Afterward, the match continues and Hiruma passes the ball to Senna, who quickly runs, and he easily runs past everyone with amazing speed and scores a 10-yard gain. However, the fill-in players is extremely tired now, so they throw away their helmets and leave the match. Afterward, the coach decides to let Itsumi and the others play, and then they get on the ground. Yuhi Guts then plays flawlessly and easily scores bunch of points on their own, but then they realize that Demon's most recent data on their defense is formed last spring. Afterward, Senna gets the ball and he runs straight on the ground like a meteor crashing down on Earth, and with that he scores a touchdown and Daemon wins the match. Later that day, Senna and the others run into a guy named Onihei who tells Kurita that he watched his game the other day and he formed a good team. Afterward, the man leaves and Kurita tells them that he is the captain of the Hashiratani Deer, Onihei Yamamoto. However, everyone gets shocked after realizing that this man is actually still in high school. Just then, Demon's coach arrives and he tells them that Onihei has been a lineman since he was in grade school and he is the ultimate veteran player. Yukimitsu then tells everyone that if they both keep winning, they will play with them in the third round. The coach further reveals that Kurita came to love real football because of Onihei. Kurita explains that he met Onihei back in middle school after he formed a football team. Afterward, we get a flashback where Hiruma tells Kurita that they are going to face Onihei in their next match coming up, but Kurita gets scared and frightened even thinking about facing him. The next day after that conversation, their match against Onihei begins and starts, and Onihei manages to tackle Hiruma pretty good and takes him down. However, Onihei's team still could not move even an inch of Kurita no matter how hard they tried, but then Onihei comes face to face with Kurita directly. Back in the present time, Senna gets surprised and shocked to hear that Kurita was held in a place by a slim guy like Onihei who is not very big. The flashback then continues showing what happened. Onihei manages to throw around Kurita easily in the match and moves him around, and then Kurita starts crying with tears because he cannot tackle Onihei successfully. Onihei then tells him that the biggest problem with him is that he handles everyone nicely and treats his opponents too kindly. Hearing that advice, Kurita finally stops being nice to his opponents and treating them, and he easily pushes away Onihei with his full strength. Back in the present time, everyone goes to watch the match of Onihei's team against another team that they are playing. The match continues going in Onihei's favor as they easily score 6 points lead in the starting part of the game, but the other team quickly catches up to them when two tall guys join the game and start playing. However, they are all disappointed and sad to see the veteran Hashiratani Deers lose the game to the Kaioshin Poseidon's team. Afterward, Hiruma tells Mamoru to take notes on all Poseidon and edit the same so they can see, and then she quickly gets to work, which surprises Senna. Afterward, they think that if height's really that big of an advantage, then being short's that much more of a handicap. Just then, the news reporter arrives and tells them that she came here to get the dirt on Eyeshield, so she wants to talk to him. Senna then quickly changes his clothes to Eyeshield 21 behind some bushes, but when he gets out, he crashes into a tall guy. The guy asks him if he is actually Eyeshield 21 and if he studies abroad at Notre Dame. Hearing that, Senna realizes that there was an Eyeshield 21 in America before, and he wonders who exactly Eyeshield 21 is and what he is like. The guy then tells Senna that he wants to fight him because he is Eyeshield now, and then he gives him the ball to hold. The guy tells Senna to run past him and get by him, but Senna is so scared because he is a giant who is much bigger than him. Seeing how big he is, Senna throws away the ball to the ground and just runs away from the situation, but then the guy's friend named Keikiai arrives at the location, so he tells him that he just saw Eyeshield 21 running away. Later that night when it gets dark, everyone holds a barbecue party together to eat and celebrate, but Senna still thinks about the guy that he ran into earlier that day. Just then, Team Ojo White Knights also joins the party and arrives, and they all have dinner together as one big group. Afterward, Senna asks Hiruma if he knew that there was a real Eyeshield 21 player before him, and Hiruma says that he does know about it. Senna then leaves the place to find Shin outside, who already had a proper meal to eat, so he is not hungry at all. Seeing Senna looking sad and upset, Shin says that if he starts feeling inferior and bad because of his physique and height, it will cost Daemon the game tomorrow that they need to win. Shin tells him to eat more protein and work out more so that he can grow more and get bigger and stronger. Later on, the same blonde-haired guy and Keikiai run into Senna and ask him questions about Eyeshield 21 and who he is. So, Hiruma arrives at the scene and orders Senna to go and bring Eyeshield 21 to meet them right now. Keikiai tells them that the real Eyeshield 21 was a perfect runner and his height and power were his special abilities that made him great. The next day, the Chameleon team finds out that someone cut their uniforms in the middle of the night, and they wonder who did all this to their clothes. However, they find a part of Senna's jersey there at the scene, so they go out to wreck him and get revenge on him. They quickly get to Demon's clubhouse and ask Montaro to get Eyeshield 21 out here right now, so then Montaro quickly informs Senna and the others about it, who have no clue what is happening. Montaro and the others force Senna to go change his clothes back to Eyeshield 21's uniform as they have no time left to waste. Just then, Hiruma arrives outside the clubhouse and asks them what they are doing here at their place. One of them tells him that Eyeshield 21 sneaks in the middle of the night and cuts their uniforms, but then Hiruma hands him over the phone. On the phone, Rue tells them to get back, but then they get angry and destroy the phone, so Hiruma says that it was their own phone. Afterward, they leave and Senna and the others get out, but Montaro thinks that someone else tried to take Daemon out of the picture by framing Eyeshield 21. Later that night, someone again attacks the Chameleon members and beats them up, and the person is wearing Eyeshield 21's clothing to disguise himself. However, their boss tells them not to do anything or fight back as Rue is doing everything he can for this tournament that they are in. Later that same night, some boys beat up Rue really badly, and Senna and Montaro happen to see all that happening in front of them. Rue then tells Senna that this tournament is his last one ever, so he will take care of everyone by himself without any help from others. The next day after that incident, they all found out that it was the Scorpions team who were impersonating Eyeshield and pretending to be him, so Rue along with Senna and the others go to teach them a lesson they will remember. The next day, it's the match between Chameleons and Poseidons, and Takami asks Shin what he thinks of the Kaioshin Poseidons, so Shin says that they are a completely different team from last year. However, they think that Poseidon's key players are even faster than Chameleons, as their speed and power must seem staggering to their opponents. Meanwhile, Rue shouts at his team really loudly, saying this is their last chance to win, and he tells them that if they beat Kaioshin they will get another shot at playing Daemon again. Afterward, the match begins and starts up, and due to the tall player of Poseidon team, the Chameleons start struggling against them and having a hard time. Rue then gets angry at his team and starts ordering them around and telling them what to do, but when the match continues playing, the Chameleons again struggle to compete with them and cannot keep up, except for Rue, who manages to tackle another player successfully. Afterward, a player from the Chameleon team gets a penalty called on him, so Rue just knocks him down on the ground really hard, getting angry at them for making mistakes. On the other hand, Hiruma thinks that the Chameleons are digging their own graves at this point in the game. Afterward, the match continues going on, and Mizumaki, who was a swimming legend, does a 50-meter freestyle move in the air which freezes Rue completely and stops him. Kaioshin team then manages to get another touchdown and score more points for their side. On the other hand, the Chameleons team is not united and works together as a team at all. Habashira's team gave up halfway through the game and stopped trying to win. Habashira tries to encourage them and force his team to win the match, but he fails to motivate them at all. In the end, Rue confronts Hiruma face to face and cries out through his tears that are falling down, and he asks what exactly the difference between Hiruma and himself as leaders is. Later, Mamoru searches about Team Scorpion's data and turns out they have 10 wins and only 1 loss, and they are not even the same league as Ojo or Cebu. However, the weird part is that half of their wins were from forfeits, which means they won without even playing the games at all. Hiruma and the coach say that they always play dirty tricks, like one time when their opponent's best running back hurts his leg in an accident and the Scorpions beat them 13-0 easily. The next day, someone throws a rock at Senna or puts sharp nails in his shoes to hurt him. Later that same day, a construction part almost falls on Senna from above and could have killed him, but Musashi saves him just in time, saying that someone definitely messed with it on purpose. Later that night, when it gets dark, Hiruma wanders on the street alone when a car stops right next to him, and some people kidnap Hiruma and take him away. The next day, everyone wonders why Hiruma has not arrived yet to the game, so Senna thinks that the Scorpion team might have done something bad to him. Hearing that idea, the Haha brothers get furious and angry and decide to go and beat the Scorpions up, but Kurita stops them from doing that. The coach then makes Kurita the person in charge while Hiruma is gone and missing. Afterward, the match between Daemon and Scorpions begins and starts, and everyone wonders how Daemon will work without Hiruma being there to lead them. However, Kanegushi fools them with a fake ball trick while another member of Scorpion team gets a touchdown and scores points. Afterward, the match continues going on with the Scorpions team playing dirty against them and cheating. Afterward, Senna gets the ball and he quickly runs with it while Kanegushi follows him along with his teammates, but the Haha brothers stop them, so Senna runs past them. Senna then manages to get a touchdown. On the other hand, Kanegushi thinks that if they can predict Senna's movements, it doesn't matter how fast he is. The match then continues once again and the ball goes past to Senna, so everyone from the other teams just jumps at him. Meanwhile, Takami tells Sakuraba that there is no way someone can predict their opponents that well just from what they observe at their games and matches. So, Kanegushi is observing Demon's telltale habits and body language very closely to learn their patterns. Meanwhile, Kanegushi tells his team that Daemon has no backup quarterbacks at all, so they should focus on demolishing Ishimaru even if it gets them a penalty for doing it. Afterward, the match begins and starts up, and the other team's players charge at Ishimaru and attack him really hard, which gets his arm injured and hurt badly. The first quarter finally gets over and ends, and Mamoru remembers that Hiruma gave her a note earlier, saying they will need it after the first quarter is finished. She then reads the note out loud, which predicts their scores exactly and perfectly, and everyone thinks that Hiruma vanished on purpose as part of his plan. Just then, Hiruma arrives at the stage and shows up to play. Their match begins with Daemon team even more motivated than before to win. Daemon easily follows Hiruma's secret plan that he made for them, which makes Kanegushi furious and angry as their plan is not working anymore against them. In the end, Daemon easily wins the match against the Scorpions, and Hiruma thinks about who he should make his next slave to control. Afterward, Senna says that their next round is against the Poseidon's team, which makes him really nervous and worried. Just then, Keikiai and Mizumaki appear in front of them out of nowhere, so Montaro thinks that they are some kinds of spies trying to watch them. Hearing that accusation, Mizumaki tells Montaro that they could spend the whole game on the bench in the first round and still beat them easily without trying. He then tells them that they are all too short and small, but since they are tall it gives them the advantage over them. Hearing that insult, Daikichi gets angry and upset, but Mizumaki keeps picking on him and calls him shorty to make fun of him. Afterward, they try to leave the area, so Senna tells them that they are definitely going to beat them all in the match. The next day on the practice ground, Montaro tells Senna that he could not stop thinking about what Mizumaki said to them, and it kept him up all night and he could not sleep. Montaro then tells him that they are not going to grow up overnight and get bigger quickly, but they are definitely going to beat them in their match. Just then, the Haha brothers arrive at the practice ground, and they scold Daikichi for moping all the time instead of practicing for their upcoming game that they need to win. Hearing that scolding, Daikichi gets furious and angry and runs away from the practice field. The next day, Kurita runs to the class and tells Senna and Montaro that Daikichi ran away from home last night and is missing. Afterward, they all go to search for him and try to find where he went. Everyone split up to look for Daikichi throughout the entire city, but they could not find him anywhere they looked. On the other hand, Daikichi is sitting beside a tree thinking about his past and how everyone just called him a dwarf and made fun of his height. Meanwhile, Senna meets Daikichi's mother who tells him that Daikichi has been acting really weird since yesterday, and he even got slapped by his dad for his behavior. Afterward, his mother tells Senna about his location and where he might be and they all go there to find him. Soon, the Haha brothers also join them and they walk onto Daikichi and Kazuki straight up punches him. They all then ask how they would beat Poseidons without him and eventually find him sitting there and convince him to get back home with them. Later that day, everyone starts practicing different techniques, but Senna tells Montaro that if they attack before Mizumaki gets going with his moves, then his height, speed and moves will not work against them. The next day after their discussion, Senna and the other players ask Omasadake to teach them sumo wrestling techniques, but he refuses to teach them at first. However, Montaro says that he will get his favorite mango pudding for him if he teaches them the moves, and then Omasadake agrees to help them out. Later that day at practice, Omasadake tortures everyone with intense sumo training exercises and Daikichi trains even harder than the others to learn the techniques. They all then spend the entire day training sumo wrestling moves, and Odawara asks them if they quit football and want to join the sumo team instead, but Daikichi says that it is their secret weapon for the upcoming games. Hearing that, he challenges them head-on but Daikichi alone takes him and surprisingly he manages to push him but Odawara throws him around. Afterward, Senna and Montaro tell Odawara the reason why they started practicing sumo wrestling in the first place, as they want to tackle tall people better in football. However, Odawara says to them that size and power are not always enough to be a good defender on the field, and the most important thing is the heart and dedication you bring to the game. Odawara then tells them a secret technique, saying that no matter how big their opponent is in a match, they will never lose if they can figure out how to turn his own strength against him during the fight. The next day after the sumo event, Senna and Montaro get to the clubhouse and inform everyone there that Daikichi will not be coming today to practice as he is doing a secret training session somewhere else. On the other hand, Daikichi is training hard to use his opponent's strength against them in matches, but then Omasadake tells them that there is a real sumo event happening this weekend, so Daikichi should participate in it. Later on, Daikichi, Senna and Montaro all take part in the sumo competition together at the event. Senna and Montaro go against each other first, and they both manage to stand against each other pretty well without one dominating. Afterward, it is Omasadake and Odawara's match on the ring, and Odawara easily dominates him with his size and strength. Finally, it is Daikichi's turn to compete, and he manages to push around Odawara successfully due to his new secret training moves that he learned during practice. The next day, Team Kaioshin Poseidons are holding a meeting where they are going to rehearse their game plan for tomorrow's game. Then, one of them opens the projector and shows a clip of Eyeshield 21 and says that he is not even strong but he is extremely fast. Moreover, Keikiai says that Daemon does not have good enough blockers to defend him properly during matches, but if they can surround him before he gets to move with his speed, he will not be a factor in the game. Meanwhile, Senna, Montaro and the other players are out to get some new shoes at a sports store, but Montaro asks the shopkeeper if they have something that can increase their height somehow. The shopkeeper then asks some guy named Hiruma to bring more shoes to show them from the back, and when he arrives at the counter, he turns out to be Demon's Hiruma working there. He then tells everyone gathered there that he works here part-time starting today at this store, and it turns out he joined this job to spy on Poseidon team members. Later that same day, Montaro and Senna disguise themselves with different clothes and go to Poseidon's practice area to spy on them secretly. However, someone caught them so they quickly showed him shoes that he brought for tomorrow's game. Just as Montaro tries to leave the area quickly, his wig gets stuck with a tree branch above him, and the guy recognizes him from the team. Afterward, they all catch both of them trying to sneak away, but Senna and Montaro apologize for their weird act of spying on them. Keiki tells them to leave right now, saying that cheating will not get them to win this match against his team. Keiki also says that Senna is a fake Eyeshield 21 compared to the real one, which makes him realize that the real one was absolutely flawless and perfect in every way. Hearing that, Senna tells him that he does not care about the real Eyeshield from before, but their Eyeshield 21 is way better than that person. Afterward, Senna and Montaro get back to their team area, and then Senna gets ready to wear the Eyeshield dress and challenges Keiki to a one-on-one race. Senna gets past him using the Devil Bat Ghost technique successfully, but Hiruma, who had been watching from the sidelines, tells Senna that it was not Keiki's true strength he was running against in that race. The next day, the match between Daemon and Poseidon is about to begin and Mizumaki instantly shows off his various moves on the ground. Seeing that, everyone gets shocked, but Mizumaki tells Team Daemon that they are going to use their height to defeat them, but this makes Daikichi angry, so he quickly lifts the bench. Afterward, Kaioshin Poseidon's side does a wave of cheers and then the entire team of Poseidon gets on field. Seeing them on the field, Yukimitsu reads their data out loud as one of the players is named Onishi and Ohira, who are the tallest high school players in the entire nation right now. Afterward, the match begins with Hiruma getting the ball first, and Daikichi tackles Mizumaki to the ground successfully. Hiruma then passes the ball to Senna, who then gets through a bunch of players quickly with his speed and agility. However, two players from Poseidon tackle Senna easily before he can advance further down the field. Keiki then tells Mizumaki that Daikichi's low center of gravity gives him a powerful advantage during the initial dash toward opponents. Afterward, the game continues with more plays, and everyone thinks that Mizumaki just got really quiet as if he is up to something sneaky. Mizumaki quickly reacts to the next play and holds Daikichi in place, and then he tries to use his super move and smashes Daikichi on the ground hard. Afterward, he quickly jumps straight to Senna and blocks him as well from advancing. Afterward, the match continues on the field and Senna tries to tell Daikichi that as long as they put up good defense against the other team, they can still win this game. Afterward, Poseidon's 2-meter-tall twins, Ohira and Onishi, show their incredible performance as well on the field, and they manage to tackle Senna down to the ground. Hiruma then scolds them all from the sidelines, saying that if they care about height so much, why did they even start playing this sport, and that even short guys can play football successfully. Just then, Daikichi's parents arrive at the stadium as well to watch him play, and Daikichi's father also motivates him to use his brute strength on the field. Afterward, the match continues and Daikichi quickly dashes forward after he crawls underneath one of the tall players blocking him, and then Daikichi manages to get the ball from another Poseidon player who had it. Afterward, Keiki tells his team that all of Hiruma's strategies are focused on offense even when they seem wide open, they come at them with surprising force. Kazuki then tells Daikichi that Mizumaki is going to try the swim technique again on him, but then the coach and Daikichi's dad tell Daikichi to use his arms to tackle him properly. Hiruma then asks Daikichi if he can take Mizumaki again and open a path for Eyeshield to run through, and Daikichi says that he can do it. Afterward, the match continues playing, and Hiruma quickly gets the ball while Daikichi manages to hold back Mizumaki from getting through. Mizumaki then tries to use his swim technique again to get past, but then Daikichi quickly hits Mizumaki in his chest hard and pushes him away from the path. Seeing that, Senna quickly speeds up and runs through them to get past, but Keiki stops him out of nowhere and catches him. Afterward, the match begins again, and this time Hiruma sees Montaro asking to pass the ball to him, but the twins of the other team block the route for the pass completely. Hiruma then quickly passes the ball to Senna instead, but he sees Keiki and Ohira running towards him fast, so Ishimaru and Suzuna's brother appear in front of Senna to block the players from reaching him. However, they get easily tackled down by their long arms that reach them. Afterward, Keiki manages to tackle down Senna with a high wave pull move that brings him to the ground. The match then moves to the other team's side, and their player Kobanzame dashes forward with the ball and easily get a touchdown. Afterward, Poseidon keeps scoring points and they are in lead by 7, but then Montaro tells Senna that they will figure out some way to deal with Ohira and Onishi. Just then, Hiruma suggests that they should try a Peewee Monkey combo play, and then he takes out his Wishbone card. Afterward, Team Daemon changes its formation style to Wishbone, which looks like a bird. The match then begins and Team Daemon quickly goes for a run as Hiruma fakes past the ball to Ishimaru and runs as fast as he can, but when the opponent players appear to block him, the ball gets passed to Senna. Afterward, Senna and Montaro run together and Senna manages to get a 20-yard gain easily because of Hiruma's strategy, which makes Keiki angry. Afterward, the match continues and Daemon manages to push down the Poseidon while Senna quickly runs with the ball, so Ohira and Onishi run to block him, but Senna manages to run past them easily. Senna then manages to get a touchdown, and now the first half is finally over with Poseidon having 14 points and Daemon at 12. Hiruma then tells the team that their game depends on how long their new strategy lasts, and he also thinks that Keikei is not going to keep quiet much longer. On the other hand, Keikei tells everyone that he is going to stop Senna one-on-one. He explains that Demon's Wishbone is strong because it allows them to quickly determine the weak points in their defense formation and send someone to run through it. Keikei tells them that Mizumaki and the others will hold back everyone but Eyeshield, which he is going to face himself. Afterward, the second half of the game begins and starts, and Senna gets scared to see the tall players of Poseidon walking by him. Afterward, Senna gets the ball and he quickly runs past everyone on the field, but then the coach realizes that they are intentionally letting Senna run by them on purpose. However, Keikei arrives in front of Senna and jumps straight at him and manages to tackle Senna down to the ground. Hearing that tackle happen, everyone gets excited while Senna is still in shock that their Devil Ghost strategy did not work this time like before. Afterward, the match continues going on, and Senna again runs past others with the ball in his hands, but Keikei also runs at him and he again stops Senna from scoring points. Afterward, Hiruma does not pass the ball to Senna at all, but he passes it to Montaro instead, which Mizumaki stops easily without any trouble. Finally, Poseidon has a score of 17 points while Daemon is still at 12 points, and then Hiruma does not give the ball to Senna again, but they still get stopped by Poseidon's defense. Yukimitsu then shouts at everyone to stand up and win this game, and then the entire team gets cheered up and motivated by his words. Afterward, the match continues playing, and Mamoru figures out Poseidon's strategy to stop Daemon from scoring points. Afterward, Senna runs like usual and normally, but this time he fakes having the ball to Keikei and tricks him. At the same time, Hiruma passes the ball to Suzuna's brother, who quickly gets a touchdown and scores for them. Afterward, the game continues and the Haha brothers manage to tackle down all the players, so Keikei tells Kobanzame to go with their Tempest formation. Afterward, this is Poseidon's third attack and they use their Tempest formation, in which their receivers look like it's just like a storm. The coach then explains that they are going to run around the field like a storm and pass the ball to Kobanzame to score. However, Senna quickly runs over to Kobanzame to tackle him, but Mizumaki pushes him away and Kobanzame manages to get their first down for the team. Afterward, the match continues going on, and Kobanzame again gets the ball in his hands, but as everyone tries to tackle him down, he just runs away from them and gets 3 yards forward. The Haha brothers then get furious at Kobanzame and call him a wimp for running away, but then Mizumaki arrives and gets furious over them calling him a wimp and insults them. Afterward, we got a flashback of Mizumaki and how he was a swimming legend before, then he met Kobanzame and he decided to join the football team with him. Back in the present, Mizumaki runs towards Hiruma to get the ball from him, but he just passes the ball to Montaro instead, but Keikei blocks it from reaching him. Seeing that play happen, Takami thinks that the game will go to whoever manages to get through in the end and score. Afterward, we get a flashback of Mizumaki training even harder than his teammates and putting in more effort, but when everyone gets done with training and leaves, Kobanzame still trained non-stop and kept working out. Later that night, the twins were shocked to see that Mizumaki, Keikei, and Kobanzame have been practicing the same exact drills for 3 months now. Afterward, they continue their training together, and Keikei manages to block both Mizumaki and Kobanzame and gets happy that he mastered reading his opponent's moves already. Back in the present, Senna runs to get a touchdown and score, but Mizumaki appears in front of him, so he just swings and dodges him and gains 8 yards forward. Afterward, Mizumaki loses his cool and control and tells Senna that he still has until last year to play, but this is his last season, and Daemon can still win next year but they cannot win later. However, Senna replies that there are several members in his team who also have their last season playing, so they are going to win this game right now. Daemon is still 5 points down as compared to the Poseidon team, and they think that they need a bit more time to catch up and win. Hiruma then walks up to Senna and tells him that he has to get by Keikei and beat him this time, and then everyone cheers Senna so that he can be the team's ace player who wins it. The match then continues playing, and Senna quickly dashes forward after getting the ball in his hands, but Keikei again tries to tackle Senna down to the ground, but he then quickly runs past Keikei as he added a spin to the Devil Bat Ghost move to trick him. Finally, Daemon is at the edge of winning the match and close to scoring the points, but Mizumaki pushes him at the end and still Senna falls down, and they did not get the touchdown they needed to win. Hiruma quickly takes time out at the last few seconds left on the clock before time runs out. Afterward, the match continues and Senna quickly finds his path to run but gets pushed back by Keiki. Team Daemon once again uses the same strategy and Senna again gets pushed back by Keiki like usual. Afterward, Senna decides to use the Devil Bat Ghost but Keiki uses his strategy to completely block Senna and he crashes on the ground. Keiki then tells Senna that he is here so that he can fight against the real Eyeshield 21 so he can't lose to a fake like him. Afterward, Hiruma tells Kurita to stop them from getting a touchdown and tells Montaro to steal their passes. The match then continues and the ball gets to Suzuna's brother who misses the ball but Montaro manages to intercept Poseidon's ball. Daemon is still 5 points down as compared to Poseidon team, and they think that they need a bit more time to catch up. Hiruma then walks up to Senna and tells him that he has to get by Keiki and beat him, and then everyone cheers Senna so that he can be the team's ace player. The match then continues playing, and Senna quickly dashes forward after getting the ball in his hands, but Keiki again tries to tackle Senna down, but he then quickly runs past Keiki as he added a spin to the Devil Bat Ghost move. Finally, Daemon is on the edge of winning the match and close to scoring, but Mizumaki pushes him at the end and still Senna falls down, and they did not get the touchdown they needed. Hiruma quickly takes time out at the last few seconds left on the clock. Afterward, Senna breaks through Keiki's Moby Dick anchor move and gets past it, but he is stopped just inches away from the touchdown by a desperate Mizumaki who tackles him at the last second. Hiruma uses their last timeout that they have left with 2 seconds remaining on the clock and the Devil Bats behind by 5 points in the score. They decide to have Senna jump over their line in a joint combination move with Manta so that he goes twice as high as he normally could. The plan succeeds and works perfectly, and they score a touchdown which wins the game against their opponents. Keiki then walks up to Senna and says that he is one of the excellent players he has ever seen so it doesn't matter whether he is real Eyeshield 21 or a fake one from Temu. Later, Mamoru and Suzuna try to find Senna who went to find a videotape but Suzuna wonders if keeping Eyeshield's identity, a secret from Mamoru, is hard for Senna. Just then, Senna arrives and they all start walking until Mamoru tells them that the Caribou Pirates are challenging the Ojo White Knights. Suddenly, a guy steals Mamoru's bag and runs but another white-haired guy runs after him and kicks him from behind. The boy's name is Riku and it seems like Senna and Mamoru know him very well. Suzuna then asks who Riku is so Riku introduces himself as Senna's big brother which surprises her. However, Senna says that back in school, Riku and he were in the same class for a while, which means he is not his real brother at all. Riku says that he always protected Senna from the bullies in middle school who picked on him, but then Mamoru scolded him badly, thinking he is one of them and a bully too. Then, Mamoru introduced herself to Riku and met him properly. The next day, Riku teaches Senna on how to use his speed which is really important for dodging his enemies' attacks when they come. Riku then demonstrates how he can move his ankle so that he can control his speed better, and since then, they started practicing together every day. Back in the present, Riku asks Senna what he is doing nowadays with his life, so Mamoru tells him that he has joined Demon's football team as a team manager who helps out. Afterward, they go to the stadium to watch Ojo White Knights match, and Ojo easily wins against the Caribou Pirates team without much trouble. Riku then takes Senna to see Shin and visit him, but on their way there, they run into Kurita's idol who tries to mess with Riku and bother him, but he uses his insane speed to get away from him. Senna then asks him if he plays football or not, but then they arrive at Shin's room where he is. Shin then asks Riku who he actually is, to which Riku introduces himself and tells him that he is the Cebu Wild Gunman's running back guy who plays on the offense side. Afterward, they leave and walk out of the room, and it is Riku's team's match and game against the Fishers team on the field. Riku then shows off and displays his insane speed against everyone on the field during the game, which surprises Senna and amazes him at the same time. The next day, Daemon High School holds a friendly match against their own students, and the Daemon High team gets divided into 2 parts with Hiruma, Yukimitsu, and Mamoru on one team and the rest of them on another team. Senna and the other players think that they are acting weird and strange, but they are worried that they are going against Demon's smartest people in the school. However, Senna and Montaro are scared because the team that loses has to play in the hellish penalty game as punishment. Afterward, the first game begins and starts and it is just a tug of war where the red team easily wins without much effort. The next game is ball toss and the red team is currently in the lead with more points, but the white team is also trying their best to beat them and win the game. Hiruma and the other players use their weapons to throw the ball easily and win the game for their side and get points. Afterward, the next game is the 3-legged costume relay race, and the winning team will get 100 points added to their total score. Montaro wears his monkey-type costume as usual as he always does in these games, while Hiruma is wearing a white bunny costume while holding his favorite gun in his hands as he runs. The white team again gets in the lead because Hiruma chooses his dog and a pig to wear costumes, and they run past the red team's player easily without any problems. Afterward, Montaro asks Senna if he has chosen someone from the audience to join them, but Senna says that he does not know anyone there. Just then, Suzuna arrives at the scene and asks Senna to choose her for the team. Afterward, the red team wears their creepy outfit and runs as fast as they can go, and Monta is in the lead at first, but then Senna runs like a maniac and goes really fast but still gets behind because Rue used his bike to go faster. Hiruma's team finally finds out that Hiruma has plotted all the sports games to teach the team how to do the bump moves in his evil plotting ways by handcuffing everyone's hands together. The next day, everyone begins practicing on the ground together, and Hiruma and the coach think that they are pretty good at it now and improving. Afterward, Kazuki asks them that they might be missing one more person from practice, so Senna quickly realizes that it is Ishimaru who is not there. Later, Senna asks Mamoru how yesterday's basketball match was and how the team did, so she says that she heard they lost big time and got beaten badly. Then, they spotted their two fill-in basketball players who were depressed about their loss yesterday and feeling sad, but then all the girls of the school ran up to Senna, Kazuki, and the others with gifts and appreciation for winning the football matches they played. Afterward, everyone goes back to the clubhouse, which has transformed into a luxury area with an automatic door. Hiruma shows the video of Teo Sphinx versus the Cebu Wild Gunman and says that this is their enemy's final practice game during summer break vacation. Kurita and the other players get shocked to see Cebu Wild Gunman playing so well with their players doing different moves and techniques, but Hiruma tells him to take a look at the scoreboard, which shows that Cebu Wild Gunman has 60 points while Teo Sphinx has 0 points. The coach then tells them that in order to defeat Cebu team, they must master a bump that is even more powerful than Kamaguruma's bump technique, and Hiruma says that Cebu is even more powered up since this video was taken and recorded. Senna says that since Daemon does not have a kicker, even if they got the same number of touchdowns as their opponents, they would still lose because they could not get those extra points from kicks. Afterward, Senna decides to go look for Ishimaru, who is running somewhere away from the team. Ishimaru misses practice because another member of his athletic club injured his knee at a practice session, and he cannot run for 3 weeks because of the injury. Senna offers to send Eyeshield 21 to run in his place and help out, but figuring Hiruma will not let him do that, he goes as himself instead. Senna helps the athletic club reach the finals of their competition, where they win first place and take home the championship. The next day, Riku joins them in the ground, and the rest of the Daemon team thinks that he might be their fan or something like that. Riku then introduces himself as the Cebu Wild Gunman's ace running back player, which shocks them all completely. Hearing that information, the Haha brothers think that he might be a spy from Cebu sent to watch them, but Riku says that they are not good enough to need spying on at all. Just then, Senna and Mamoru also arrive at the practice ground, and the three of them walk home together after a long time of not seeing each other. Riku then tells Senna that he is interested in someone from Daemon team, and that person is Eyeshield 21, who he wants to meet badly. Mamoru then tells Riku that he is the perfect role model for Senna because he is hardworking and always protective of his loved ones and cares about them. Afterward, we get a backstory where Riku told Senna that he is going to transfer his school and leave, but then a bully arrives at the scene, so Riku beats him up to protect Senna. Just then, more guys arrive at the location and start picking on Senna and bullying him, but then Mamoru appears out of nowhere, and the bullies quickly run away from her. Before leaving, Riku tells Senna to protect Mamoru and keep her safe, and back in the present, Senna thinks that he has not kept even one of the promises that he made with Riku back then. Suddenly, Mamoru sees some guy sitting on the road in front of them, so she yells at them, which makes them furious and angry at her. Just as they get angry at her and start threatening her, Riku and Senna quickly run fast around them and take away their underwear to embarrass them. On the other hand, Hiruma confronts the cowboy and tells him that between Riku and Eyeshield 21, Eyeshield is the fastest running back player. He asks who Kid thinks is the strongest quarterback in Kanto region, and his answer is Yoichi Hiruma himself. Finally, the day of the match arrives, and Senna meets Riku outside the stadium and extends his hand to greet him as friends, but Riku just smashes it away and says that he is going to defeat Eyeshield 21 in this game. At the stadium, everyone starts cheering for the Wild Gunman team, which makes the Daemon coach think that they are totally different from normal high schoolers, so he tells everyone that losing concentration just once could cost them the game and make them lose. Afterward, it is time for the toss, and Daemon gets the kickoff to start the game. Afterward, the game begins and everyone rushes towards each other on the field, but the commentators say that the key players of this match are Riku and Eyeshield with his fast legs and speed. On the other hand, Riku caught the ball and Montaro and Suzuna's brother go to stop him, but Riku uses his usual special technique to run past them easily. Riku then runs straight for the goal to score, but then Kazuki runs straight towards him and gets thrown away easily by Riku without stopping. Afterward, Senna appears in front of him to block his path, but Riku passes through him easily and gets a touchdown for his team. Riku then walks up to Senna and says that he has challenged him 93 times and won every time, and it turns out Riku knows that he is actually Senna and not someone else. Afterward, the match continues playing, and Senna runs while holding the ball and passes by everyone using his Devil Bat Ghost move. However, Riku then runs straight towards him and he manages to grab Senna from behind and catch him, and then Senna falls on the ground hard, but he still gets a touchdown since he is far from the line already. Afterward, the match continues playing, and Riku gets the ball as he runs straight through Demon's defense using his usual technique to get past them, but then Senna runs as fast as he can to catch Riku and stop him. Hiruma then tells Senna to use his Devil Bat Ghost technique to stop him from scoring, and then Senna manages to catch up with him finally, but both players fly out of the bounds at the sidelines together. Afterward, Hiruma jumps to catch the Cowboy's ball, but Cowboy successfully passes the ball to Riku, but Montaro manages to stop Riku. Afterward, everyone gets scared to see Cowboy's terrifying fast passing speed, but then Hiruma approaches him and says that he based on all their plays off of his quick draw taking 0.2 seconds. However, Cowboy says that those cards, his weapons, and even that scary hairdo are all part of his plan, which he is starting to understand. The score is 7-6 with Cebu in the lead by 1 point, and the match begins with Daemon starting to defeat Cebu's receivers. Finally, Cebu's another start player named Tetsuma enters the field and Montaro walks up to him and tries to have a casual conversation, but Tetsuma ignores him. Right after that, the battle of receivers with Montaro and Tetsuma begins, along with the battle of running backs with Senna and Riku, and the battle of quarterbacks with Hiruma and the Cowboy player also starts. The ball gets quickly passed to Tetsuma, who then quickly gets the ball and scores a touchdown after throwing Montaro away like a trash can with no effort. When he sees that happen, Senna wonders to himself that they cannot stop Tetsuma at all because of his incredible power and strength, but then another huge player from Cebu arrives on the field, whose name is Ushijima, and he starts rushing after Hiruma really fast in order to intercept the pass before it reaches anyone. After chasing him down, he then manages to fail and stop Demon's pass from going through successfully. The match keeps going and continues with Senna running with the ball in his hands as Riku runs after him really fast to try to stop him, but Senna uses his Devil Bat Ghost move, and on the other hand, Riku uses his Rodeo Drive technique against him. Riku manages to steal the ball away from Senna's hands and scores a touchdown for his team. After that happens, Hiruma then tells Senna that they are going to use blitzing again even though it is not working right now. Everyone on the team tries to tell Hiruma that the blitz strategy is not working at all, but Hiruma is determined and insists that they are only going to use this strategy no matter what. Right after that, Hiruma tries to trick the Cowboy player into a quick pass by using a zone blitz move, but he fails at doing it, and Kid rushes forward to score a touchdown. Afterward, the other team now has a 15-point lead over them, and the commentator and other people watching think that it is getting really hard for Daemon to win now. Senna and the other players ask Hiruma what they should do now to fix the situation, but Hiruma just ignores them completely, which makes Kurita wonder if Hiruma is just giving up on the game now. Right after that moment, we get a flashback that goes back in time where Hiruma, Kurita, and Musashi are sitting together at their old clubhouse planning for the tournament to come up. After that scene, they play in a tournament, where someone comes running and informs Musashi that his father passed out while he was working and fell off a beam at the construction site. Hearing that, Musashi thinks about leaving this match, but first he says that he has to make a kick despite his father fighting for his life. However, Hiruma told him to get going and then Musashi left and never came back. Soon, Musashi's father's company starts going downhill and losing money, so Musashi has no choice but to try to take his dad's place in the company to help out. Coming back to the present time right now, everyone thinks that Daemon really needs a kicker on their team, but Hiruma himself plans on being the kicker since they do not have one available. Hiruma then tries to kick the ball, which makes him look like a real Musashi for a moment, and then he kicks it hard, but the ball hits a pole and bounces off, and Daemon misses the point completely. Right after that disappointing moment, Hiruma gets really furious and angry, and he just goes back to the bench where Kurita tries to calm him down. Right after that moment, the match starts and begins, and Kurita manages to smash all the players of the other team out of his way and gets just a 4-yard score for his team. After that happens, Kurita and the Haha brothers manage to get low score yard points together, and it seems like Daemon is finally getting back up and recovering. Kurita then keeps moving forward and pushing ahead while Senna is running right behind him closely, and that is how Demon's slow and steady blast plan has beaten back the Cebu Wild Gunman team. Right after all of that, Senna just jumps through all the players who are in his way and gets a touchdown for his team. Afterward, Damon kicks off the ball and now it's Cebu's turn on offense, but then Riku speeds off after getting the ball. Riku then changes his running path on the field and heads over straight towards Senna. However, Daikichi runs straight into Rucky and tackles him on the ground, which makes Rucky furious. Right after that moment, the match continues once again, and the ball gets passed towards Riku from the Cowboy quarterback, but Senna also runs towards Riku at the same time. However, Riku misses the catch completely, and Senna quickly recovers the ball and runs as fast as he possibly can to get a touchdown for his team. After that play ends, the Cowboy and other players get really angry at Riku for only focusing on Senna instead of focusing on the match properly. The Cowboy then tells Tetsuma to take Riku back to the bench because he will not be playing in this round anymore. The match then continues right after that with the Cowboy passing the ball to Tetsuma, while Senna, Hiruma, and Montaro all run to stop him. However, Tetsuma knocks them all off easily and scores a touchdown for his team. Afterward, the match continues and Kurita goes on with his blast technique again, which destroys the opposite team's players and clears the way. After that, Senna gets the ball in his hands, and he runs straight towards the touchdown area, but Ushijima uses his jumping technique to stop Senna, but it turns out that Senna does not have the ball at all, but Hiruma does, and he throws it at Montaro, who catches it and gets a touchdown. At the same time, Riku wonders to himself why he is just wasting his time sitting on this bench, and then the Cowboy coach lets him play in this round. Right after that, Riku runs with the ball really fast and Senna just runs straight at him to stop him, but Riku uses his techniques to quickly run past him easily and scores a touchdown for his team. Right after that moment, there is only a 9-point difference as Daemon is still behind the other team, but the main problem is that there are only 9 minutes remaining on the clock. After that realization, the match continues right away, and Senna quickly gets past everyone with an amazing speed that nobody can match, but then Riku runs straight towards Senna again to stop him, but just as Senna tries to use his Devil Ghost technique to escape, Riku just tackles him down hard to the ground. The match then begins again right after that, and it comes down to Senna and Riku coming face to face with each other once more, but Riku quickly uses his rodeo drive technique and pushes Senna down to the ground again. After getting pushed down, Senna then looks up at the time on the scoreboard, and there is only 5 minutes remaining, so he thinks to himself that he has to start the Devil Bat Ghost move faster because they are running out of time quickly. Senna keeps struggling against Riku and trying his best, and he realizes that his Devil Bat Ghost technique is not working anymore against him. The match then continues right after that, and this time Senna uses his Devil Bat Hurricane move to try to get past Riku. However, Riku tackles Senna down to the ground again, which means that Senna's Devil Bat Hurricane failed as well. With only 2.5 minutes left on the clock, Montaro tries to encourage Senna and lift his spirits, and so does the entire team, telling him that they are not going to give up until the very end. Right after that moment, the Cowboy throws an underhanded super quick draw pass and Tetsuma gets the ball in his hands, but Montaro starts hitting his hand really hard, and he manages to slap the ball out of Tetsuma's hands. After that happens, Senna gets the ball and he runs straight to get a touchdown, and so does Riku. Both of them activate their special abilities at the same time, and it turns out that Senna manages to get past him and scores a touchdown for his team. After that, Cowboy tells Hiruma directly and straight to his face that he fell right into his trap and that everything is always too good to be true in situations exactly like this one. Hiruma reminds him and tells him back that he told him earlier before that Eyeshield would definitely win the game for sure, and Cowboy tells Hiruma not to forget and remember that he said Hiruma Yuichi is the best quarterback in the entire league and competition. They part ways and separate from each other, agreeing that the rest of the battle will be a battle of strategy between them. However, Hiruma makes up his mind that he is going to do an onside kick for the next play coming up. After that, Hiruma wonders and asks what a loser's bracket actually is, and the coach realizes and figures out that Hiruma has not told them about the tournament rules yet. Mamoru then quickly plays and shows a video which explains and breaks down all the rules and what the loser's bracket really means to everyone. After they lose to the Cebu Gunman team, Tetsuma saves and helps Montaro from getting Daemon suspended and banned from playing in the tournament. Montaro then starts crying and walks over to Tetsuma, thanking him for everything he has done for him. However, Cowboy tells his coach that Tetsuma has done that because he wants to see Montaro again and meet him in the Kanto tournament. On the other hand, Senna walks up to Riku and thanks him for what he did, but Riku tells him back that he has not beaten him even one time and walks away from him. However, deep down inside, Riku knows in his mind that he has actually beaten him only one time before. Earlier before this, Hiruma reveals and tells everyone that there is one seat left open in the Tokyo tournament, so this means they still have a chance to make it to the Christmas Bowl. The Daemon team attends and goes to a summer festival together. Mamoru invites Riku to come with them. Riku tells Senna that he needs to promise him to remove and take off his Eyeshield mask before the Kanto tournament starts. Afterward, it's Ojo White Knight's match against Bando Spiders and everyone wonders which team Cebu will face in the finals. On the other hand, Senna, Montaro and Suzuna arrive at the stadium to watch their match where they find Sakuraba and Odawara. Just then, Shin arrives and tells them that Ojo will defeat Bando with its full strength and then they will wait for them at the Kanto tournament instead. Right after that, the match between Ojo and Bando Spiders begins, and everyone in the audience starts chanting Sakuraba's name really loudly. Bando Spiders has a rockstar player on their team who is the only athlete playing his electric guitar while sitting on the bench area. The match then begins right away after all the preparation, and Shin quickly dominates their players with his spear tackle strikes and powerful moves. However, the Spider team member named Kotaro Sasaki also shoots a great shot that surprises everyone, which is a 40-yard field goal in the opening minutes of the game. The match then continues after that with Bando Spiders members crushing Odawara down to the ground, which surprises everyone watching. At the same time, Shin thinks to himself that it is Hayato Akaba, the guitarist, who is giving signals to his team in the middle of the play. Right after that happens, the other team successfully read Sakuraba's passes correctly, but Mamoru still feels surprised about how such a small player knocked down Odawara so easily like that. After seeing that, Mamoru then tells everyone that Bando's rating went down because all their members from last year were lured away by a school in the Kansai area. Right after she says that Shin returns to the field to play and Odawara gets dominated again because of Akaba's signal to his team members. However, Shin still attacks the other players with his spear tackle technique and scores a touchdown for his team. At the very end, Ojo White Knights are at a 14-point score while Bando Spiders are still stuck at only 3 points and in the end, Ojo White Knights win the match. How far do you think Senna and the Daemon Devil Bats can go in the tournament? Let us know in the comments, and if you'd like a part 2 make sure to comment Eyeshield. Like and subscribe the channel for more sports content.